Hey everyone, the Talking Dads podcast is brought to you by Little Scholars Early Learning Center. Whether your family needs infant care, a preschool program, or before and after school care, Little Scholars' highly rated Step Up to Quality programs provide quality early childhood education at an affordable price. Visit www.littlescholars.net to get in contact with an enrollment specialist and schedule a tour of any of their 5 Lake County campuses. Here's the deal. Talking Dads fans are getting a little bonus. Mention that you heard about them through our podcast, and when you tour, and you'll receive $25 off of your registration fee. Again, that's Little Scholars Early Learning Center, where children learn, play, and grow together. We are also brought to you by Pub Fredo Gastropub. Pub Fredo was voted Best Gastropub in Cleveland in 2019 by Cleveland Magazine Silver Spoon Awards. We love Pub Fredo. Their menu is chef-inspired, always pushing the limits of traditional pub fare. The other night I had a burger, I believe it was called the Pub Burger. It was incredible. Cooked perfectly. It was amazing. And you won't have a problem pairing your favorite item on the menu with their great selection of local craft beers, crafted cocktails, and of course, an amazing bourbon and whiskey selection. I went with the Bullet 10-year with my Pub Burger. All of this in a cozy, fun, come-as-you-are atmosphere. You can check them out at pubfredo.com and on Facebook and Instagram at PubFredo Gastropub.
We are also brought to you by Marky Fresh Barbershop in Menor, Ohio.
Bro, I love Marky Fresh.
It's the best, isn't it?
Dude, I get cut there like every 3 weeks. My kid gets cut there every month
Every
and a
now and
half or
then.
so. Month and a half, 2 months, something like that. They do such a good job.
The environment is phenomenal. Everybody's awesome there.
Can I tell you a secret? I don't
Please.
even give a shit about the haircut. It is so much freaking fun going there.
Just to hang out.
Yeah. I have such
Just have a good time. Every time, man.
Yeah.
You
But
get caught.
They
If you
do.
want to be in there, they're fast.
Oh, yeah.
Their whole app, everything,
Oh,
booking to get in,
so
it's so
easy.
convenient and easy, but you get caught up
Oh, yeah.
because you just want to hang out and talk with these guys.
You know what the word is? Shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
So many shenanigans.
You don't want to leave.
It's so much fun. But honestly, they do a fantastic job.
They really do.
I look way better when I leave than when I get
You
in there.
really do.
I know.
So, yeah, Marky Fresh.
Yeah, book at markyfresh.com.
Book, get in, stay fresh.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Talking Dads. This week's special guest is Pete Velotta, and we had an amazing time sitting down in studio with him. We went through a ton of stuff. I mean, we talked about losing your identity as a man when you become a dad. We talked about parenting a child with special needs and got a little deep in there, which we had a really good conversation about. And then we also just did some self-reflection stuff and, trying to improve and be self-aware of who we are. So it was a really good episode, tons of fun. Of course, we had some tasty bourbon with it. So make sure you check it out, share it with your friends, and have a great weekend.
In a world where moms continue to dominate parenting authority and a father's role is minimized in society, 2 dads take on the toughest parenting topics on a weekly basis, all while drinking bourbon. They are the Talking Dads.
All right, Pete, thanks for coming on, dude. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
Huge
of
honor.
course.
Huge honor.
We're here as usual at the Collab by Notion, beautiful downtown Willoughby. So, thanks for coming in.
Oh, my pleasure.
I'm interested in what's in the bag, but why don't we...
What's in the bag?
What's in the bag? Why don't we start with a dad profile? You kind of state your name, and then a little bit about yourself, what makes you a dad, things like that.
Sure. So my name is Pete Velotta. I'm a longtime Cleveland guy. I grew up in Chesterland, Ohio. I got 2 kids, awesome wife, Jen. So we have 2 kids. Rocco is our oldest. He's 9, just turned 9. And Raylan's our daughter. She's 6.
Okay.
So to describe them both in one words is, I would say Rocco's brilliant. Raylan's fierce.
Nice.
She's
Nice.
1 minute she wants to, throw down and wrestle and all that good stuff. The next minute she's like so lovey-dovey and wants to snuggle. And
I'm telling you, man,
It's
it's
wonderful.
number 2, right?
yeah,
Child number 2, I feel like they're
Literally.
the fierce ones. They're the crazy. They still get that love though. Like Like Ben is my youngest is he's insane, but he's loves to be loved. You know what I mean? Like he'll be sweet, but just like that, he'll be punching me and smacking me, scratching me, all that kind of crap.
Right.
But it's a second kid, I feel like, every time.
Oh, for sure. And she's like a little mother to him. You know, like she tries to she oversteps sometimes, but she has the best interest at heart.
Yeah.
So, you know,
That's awesome.
she's the perfect sister for him, you know.
That's
great.
awesome.
Yeah, that's a good combo. Fierce and brilliant is a pretty good combination to have there. So
Absolutely.
congrats on all your success.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You did good.
Thank you.
Did good.
Thank you. I wouldn't be half as every day is a work in process, as you guys know, as being a dad. You know, you have some days where you think like you're failing, and then other days you think, oh, I got this down.
Right.
Other days you just give up. Right.
Sometimes you're like, I'm throwing in the towel.
I'm throwing in the towel. Here's a tablet.
Yep. Because I mean, we all get to that point. It's so we're all guilty of doing it. But, I mean, you have to. You have to have your sanity at some point, and we're not all perfect.
Well, and I think like anything else, like those days, especially if you recognize that they're happening, that means that they're not happening that often, which is great.
Sure.
And then if you have those days, then you really feel like you just crushed it as a dad on the days that you do whatever activities it is that you'd rather be doing.
Yeah.
You know? And you can't always do it. There's no way you could do that 100% of the time. But like I said, I think the days where you just kind of throw in the towel make the other days that much better.
Sure. And we just had our 10-year anniversary.
Congrats.
Thank you. So, we're still gaining experience.
Sure.
So, like to your point, like you start with anything, you get that experience, and you can recognize shortcomings or recognizing obstacles quicker.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
Well, and I think that's something that we try and emphasize on the show a little bit is taking a step back and realizing how that day went or how that week went or whatever your measurement is. You know, maybe it's how did dinner time go tonight? You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
Because I know that's a stressful time for us a lot is, hey, we did great. We crushed it tonight. Like,
it's a good feeling.
You know, they ate their food and they asked to be excused and things like that. You know what I mean? And there's other nights where it's just like, you know what? Let them go because we're going to sit here and talk like adults for a few minutes.
Yeah, for sure, man.
But yeah, I think taking a step back and not grading, but at least understanding how it went.
And to your point before too, it's like if at the end of the night when you're laying in bed and you're thinking about what you did that day, and you could actually pinpoint what you did wrong and what you did right, then I think, like you said, I think you're doing it right then.
Thank you. Yeah.
Like if you notice what you're doing and you can figure it out, then I think we're doing a decent job.
I mean, I know that's when I and usually it's when we've had a couple weeks where we haven't done the podcast or something like that, and that hasn't happened in a long time. But,
we've been cooking.
That's almost when everything just kind of gets on autopilot for me. And when it's on autopilot and I'm not thinking about how it went, then when I finally get to that point, I'm like, shit, we've been kind of screwing it. Like I've really been letting them go and a lot through quarantine. You know what I mean? That was a lot of that. I was like,
that was a tough time for all of us.
And we were even podcasting, but we were doing all that remotely. And so we didn't have the same interaction exactly.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, all right, I'd go down to the basement and I'd set it all up and I'd be like, all right, we did it. And it was good. We had really good episodes, really good guests, but it just wasn't the same, like,
not the same feel as like
feel,
chemistry.
Chemistry. And so then I wasn't like really reflecting on what kind of dad was I this week, you know, because that's what I try. I do mine by the weeks.
Yeah. So like for us, Pete, we've talked about this 100 times on here. It's like for us, this coming into the studio and having an episode is a time for us to reflect and kind of reset, you know, try to realize what we've done wrong or what, like, you know what I mean? Just try to find what was going wrong throughout the week. You could reset and be a better father, parent, you know, when you're done, because it helps you realize, okay, well, I'm not crazy. I'm not screwing up. Yeah, I had a bad day, but you figure it out and make it better again. Sure. So this whole thing is like therapy.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to the
good.
And we put our phones away. We don't have our phones. No distractions. It's just all conversation with a little bit of bourbon.
Yeah, I'm interested now. Yeah. The brown bag is always a little gleam.
Sorry, a car just drove by with a bunch of Post-it notes all over it.
Really?
I don't understand.
Interesting.
Sorry.
That's Downtown Willoughby, everyone.
ADD over here.
And to your point about reflection and self-awareness and everything and thinking about the day and being a parent and everything is like during this quarantine, I started getting into like learning about stoicism and stoics and stuff. So I started real easy, like Ryan Holiday's books. And so I was reading those, and all his stuff is based around journaling and reflection and things like that. So I got a journal, like, from Staples or whatever. And one of the exercises, I guess is a way you could say, is at night you have a reflection, like what you did good, what you could do better, and like what you need to do to be great. And I found most of my reflections revolve around like being a dad.
Sure.
And revolve around, all right, was I patient today? Was I not? What could I do to like step back to be more patient? Because so we could get into this later, but so my son has autism.
Mm-hmm.
So again, like he doesn't identify. It doesn't identify him, but it's what we deal. It's part of the challenges of being a dad. So I'm still learning how to deal with that.
Sure.
And how to thank God for my wife, because she is like dialed in with them, and she makes my life 1,000 times easier.
It's a common theme around here.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, it really is.
It really is.
I mean,
The wives
you
are-
meet a good dad, and guess what? There's a good mom there
Yeah,
too.
It's all about the team, man.
Like on Father's Day, I should get her a gift.
Yeah, right.
Honestly.
I agree. That's maybe a little dad hack, actually.
Well, to go back to a dad hack, actually, sorry to cut you
That's
off and try to
No, please.
keep stay where you were, but I have to hit this button because the journal idea. It's a little bit loud every
Yeah, it's a
time,
little
but
loud.
anyway, that's a dad hack in itself right there.
Yeah.
I never, because I mean, like you read up on it, and I never thought about that to actually, because I mean, you think about it all the time. That's something you always have in your mind, but it's so easy
That's
to
a good
forget about
idea.
it, though. So to have a journal and keep
Yeah.
track of everything, that's a
Well,
Good dad hack.
I mean, again, I think, no matter the format that you choose, I think that's really, if we're really being honest about why we started this, I mean, one of the first goals that we had is, or not really goals, but what we said was, at the very least, no matter how long we do this podcast thing for, we're going to have a record of our kids growing up and how we reacted as dads.
Sure.
And so that's kind of cool. It's almost like journaling and,
absolutely.
over the last year and a half.
It's all archived. So,
Right.
I mean, we have it
It's out there.
publicly.
Yeah, so that's the one common theme with the journal is a lot of times I'll unpack like my day at work and the stresses I deal with, and like because I'm the kind of guy that puts the weight of the world on my shoulders, and whether that be work or school or I'm sorry, kids in school and the kids and things like that, and writing it all out has been helping like compartmentalize, and after you write it all down, you're like, man, whatever's bothering me is all just bunch of horse shit. Like you don't even.
That's a
need
good way to find out, though.
Can I
because, I mean,
swear on-
believe it.
Can I
absolutely.
swear on here?
You could fucking swear all you want.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. And along with, like I said, I just went to Staples and got a cheapo journal. Like you could get crazy and get leather ones and
Yeah.
stoic ones,
Sure.
specific ones. And then I got this other one. It's called One Line a Day. And what's
I've
cool,
heard of that.
Yeah. So it's in each page is a date. But what's cool about it is it's so like October, what's today, the 8th?
Ninth.
9th?
Ninth?
So it'll say like at the top of the page, October 9th. And then there would be 5 sections on the page. And there'll be a 20. And so you could write 2020. And then you write your passage. So next year, when you get to this date, you could read what happened that day.
Oh.
So the
that's
journal's
pretty cool.
The journal's called One Line a Day.
Okay.
It's blank. And it
Yeah.
has the dates. And then, but you keep it for 5
So you just
years.
keep it for 5 years, and you just keep you
That's
you
pretty
recycle
awesome.
it through.
Yeah.
That's
So-
really cool.
So a lot of times that'll be like my thesis for the other, because I'll write the one line. I'll be
Yep.
like, all right, today was a good day. I had a couple drinks. We got along great at home. Like tension was down, whatever.
Yeah.
But if it was in the reverse where like things went sideways, had a rough day, didn't get my workout in, maybe I skipped 3 days of working out, and now I'm
Right.
like going a little stir crazy. Like I'll jot that all down, or
Yeah.
I'll give myself a little kudo. Like I was really I handled a meltdown really well.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen often, but
It's tough, man.
handled or I'll be like, oh, the kids lost their minds today, or they were pissed because they dropped their McDonald's fries on the
Sure.
way in the house,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
whatever.
The
silly
world
stuff.
ended. Yeah.
World
right.
ended, and
Right.
I'll jot that stuff down, and then a lot of times that'll
And you can summarize.
I'll summarize. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be real concise, and then in the journal with all the blank pages is where I'll unload.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
That's awesome.
That's pretty awesome. That's a great way to do it. And like you said too, like when you realize what really bothered you and what was really stressing you out, and you're like, oh, that's really like a microcosm of what's going on. Like that's not a big deal.
Right.
So that's a good way to put it too. I mean, because I'm the same way, man. I get stressed out, man. I'm always taking everything. Like, I mean, and I hold it all and I don't really talk about it. I think to write it down and actually keep track of it would really help.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you should try it. I mean, I think I want to try it.
Seriously,
I like
though, man,
writing,
I'm like, I really do.
Yeah.
I don't have, I always say this, I don't have time for it. Like, while I'm at work, I don't. Like, that's like where I'm at work. I have a little bit of time to do something on the side, but I always forget about it.
Sure.
But if you make it a priority, you make it like your evening routine, then
Yeah, I mean, it's just like
just
anything
something like,
else.
yeah, you're sitting down on the couch or something, like, okay, let's
Right.
get the journal out and write something down real quick. That's,
Right.
I love that. I really do.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's something that's one of the benefits I got out of this whole quarantine thing is like I started learning about it. It was interesting. And now I'm on Ryan Holiday's second. I don't know what order his books are, but I'm on the second one that I know of that he wrote.
Right.
And I got another one sent. So it's pretty cool. All the common themes are all about Stoics and how they handled stuff. And then, so I'm trying to bleed it over to.
There's a podcast, and I'm trying to think of the name of it. I want to say it's called The Order of Man.
Okay, I haven't heard of that.
You know Tom Brew, right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
He's the one that turned me on to it. And it's kind of what it is. It's the Stoic man and how he approaches fatherhood in today's age.
Okay.
And it's a little, I don't want to call it political. It's a little polarizing for me. Like, it's very, like, I'm more of a whatever works for you. Like, you know, if something's working for you, keep doing it. And he's pretty strong opinioned. But I get a lot. I don't tune in regularly, but whenever I do, I check it out, and I'm like, oh, like if I see a topic that comes up, I'm like, oh, all right, let me check that out. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
See, like I get very turned off from preachy people.
That's kind of what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Not all the time, but sometimes, like I'll
You
get
take it in, like, small
halfway through an
doses.
episode, and I'll be like,
You know what I mean? Like, but
gotta
it's sometimes
stop.
like they're drilling it into you.
Right.
You got to do this.
Right.
You got to.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, get you motivated for a little bit. Then it's like, okay, this is getting to be a little much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little salesy for me too,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they have like a group that you can join.
Yeah,
and,
all that.
you know, you pay whatever a month to get special things.
But I think to
and-
tune in every now and then, that's
Yeah,
something
yeah.
I could definitely check out.
But what I like about these guys, it seems like they just put it out there,
Right.
and you interpret it, or maybe they'll put a little they'll say, okay, this little entry, and they'll compare it to something that like Winston Churchill did,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
you know,
right.
or Ulysses S. Grant or whatever, and then you can apply it to your life.
I like that. I like that a lot.
It's more of a
Definitely check that
casual.
out.
It's more of a casual way.
Yeah.
I'm all about the casual.
Yeah, me too.
Well, I mean, that's just like with anything. I don't care if it's a new workout regimen that you're doing, or it's, you know, a side gig of doing a podcast, or, you know, whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish and something that you want to do. At least for me, whenever I go like balls to the wall on something, I burn out. And you know, like even the podcast, like we eased ourselves into now. I mean, it's a lot now, right? But we're in our groove where we worked up to it, right?
For sure.
We were doing one a month or maybe two a month, and now we're in that. We have the work part of it down to where it's just get into our thing.
Yeah, it's easy.
And I think that's kind of a good way for us, at least, to approach things. I know for me, like whether I'm doing this run tomorrow, right? We kind of talked about it a little bit before we came on here. And when I first started training for it back in, I don't know, February or something like that, I went balls to the wall, and I was like,
Yeah, you were
I
going
was like,
nuts,
all right,
man.
I gotta go. I gotta be able to get in shape, because at the time it was supposed to be in July. So I like went crazy, and then I stopped for like almost a full month because I just burnt myself out.
Sure.
And so like in, I don't know, probably late July, something like that, I was like, all right, I'm gonna take a different approach. I'm gonna do it when I can. I'm gonna want to do it, you know. And I kind of went a lot slower, and I'm feeling pretty good now.
Yeah.
Now that we're here, I mean, we'll see what happens tomorrow, but
You'll be all right.
but I mean that just works better for me. I mean, there's
It
other
worked
people
though,
that can just, hey, new routine, I'm doing it. But for me, I need to like.
But it's like
ease
anything
into
though. Like
it.
if you don't ease into it, I'm the same way. Like it's like a meal plan or something like that, or an exercise routine. It's like boom, boom, boom. Like I'm stopping what I'm doing cold turkey, and then I'm gonna start doing this right away. And then like all of a sudden you're like, this is not for me. And then all of a sudden
it feels
you're
like
done.
work.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
It feels
you're
like
not enjoying it.
Like not even like it feels like a chore.
Yeah,
Not even work. It feels like a chore. Like, oh, all right, now I have to go run 5 miles.
yeah.
Instead, like these last couple of weeks, it was like, hey, I'm going to go out and get a run in. Like, so I was excited about
Yeah,
it
for sure.
because I wasn't going to kill myself if I didn't make it that day, but I knew what my end goal was, and I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go do it.
Go do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like with me, my wife says all the time is one thing she loves, and the one thing that drives her crazy is like I'm like an off switch.
Yeah.
If I'm interested, I'm full go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not in an addictive OCD way, but like
Yeah.
just passionate, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so when I started running, I had to follow that regimented plan.
Yeah.
But after a while, I'm thinking like, all right, who's to say I have to run 8 miles in one day? Why can't I just do like 4 in the morning, 4 at night?
Sure.
Or 4 one day, 4 the miles are there,
Right.
So like, to your, you might get burnt out, but and it feels like a chore. And it's like,
Well, and everyone's different too. I mean, you might have that personality or that that drive that says if I'm going to do it, I have to focus on that, and that's okay too. I mean, I'm like that with work probably. Like I think I'm different in different aspects of my life. Like if I know something's going to happen, and I guess maybe not so much now that I'm thinking, now that I'm like reflecting on that. I think even with the work thing, I took a very slow approach to get to where I'm at. You know what I mean? Like I didn't just
Jump right in.
hop in and start doing crazy stuff. I figured it out along the way.
sure.
And that goes back to what works for you,
But
right?
there are other people.
Right, so-
There are people that, okay, well, I'm going to go be a boxer. Right, I'm gonna
Jump right into it.
in. I'm gonna go train
it
5
works.
days a week, and that works for them. That's wonderful. Do like understand that, and then approach anything else in your life that way if that's what works. I mean, we say it all the time. Whatever works.
Right. But I think with like a recreational activity, like running or whatever, like I feel like if it does become a chore, you should pivot to make it fun.
Right.
True.
Exactly.
Switch it up a little
100%
bit.
agree.
We have so many chores to begin with.
Exactly.
Why make your outlet feel laborsome? You know?
Right. 100%
Yep.
agree. 100%.
Yeah, man. And I think to go back to the start of things, when you were talking about your son and saying like how your wife really keeps you level headed and everything, I think we kind of broke off from what he was explaining. But with your son and everything, like, and with your kids in general, like we were talking about our wives keeping us, keeping our feet on the ground.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned your son, he's 9, you said?
He's 9. He just turned 9 in September.
Okay. So like, I mean, there's a lot of times with like my kid. So Sam could
5.
be difficult. He'll be 5. Yeah. He's difficult at times. And,
5 soon.
so like I overreact about a lot of things. Like, so he came home the other day and he's like talking about so they have this thing at school where it's called like the child of the day, and, which is fun. But the other kids, when they are the child of the day, they have to pick a helper. And I asked him, he goes, oh, so-and-so picked this other kid. And I'm like, oh, has anybody ever picked you to be the helper? He's like, no. He's like, I'm like, well, maybe, it's no big deal. That's not a problem. He goes, no one's ever going to pick me to be the helper.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, buddy, that's not true. I'm like, you've only been in school for a little while. And he's like, no. I'm like, well, I mean, are you enjoying school and everything? And he's like, yeah. He's like, but I don't think anybody likes me to be their helper. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. So I'm sitting there at dinner for the rest of the night, like, oh, it's already happening. I'm like, this is like my fear. Like my kid doesn't have any friends or something like that. Liz's like, chill out, just relax.
Yeah.
He's fine.
Yeah.
Right.
He loves school. He's fine. Don't start acting like that. I'm like, I know, but I mean, I just can't not think like that.
Right.
But she keeps me level. Like
That's
I'll
good.
overreact to everything. You know what I mean? Like it's just in my nature.
Right.
But it's not a big deal. He's probably fine. But I was thinking though, like, oh, damn it, man.
I mean,
that's
it's
not what I want to hear
100%
about
fine.
it.
And Liz is right. I mean, again, from like a ECE background type of, I guess, thought process.
Mhm.
I mean, really all that I mean, we know Sam. I mean, you don't know Sam, but I know Sam. But I mean, he's always been like a quiet kid, right?
Yeah, for
and
sure.
like he's the most respectful kid you'll ever see at his age. And he's
Just quiet.
I guess kind of reserved, I guess. But he's going to hit his stride where he makes that one friend over whatever it is. If it's Legos or it's
that's why I mean,
whatever. He'll get that, and then he won't even remember like the first month.
Exactly.
Of
And that's
school
what I try to think too. I'm like, okay, this is not a big deal. I'm like, then I'm starting to think, I'm like, what was I like when I was in preschool? Like, did I have a bunch of friends right away? I'm like, who did I hang out with? I'm like, okay, I'm really starting to dive into this a little too much. So,
But you're right. I mean, it's nice to have, I mean, my wife does the same thing is I'll flip out over something or she'll flip out over something like this is not okay. And all right, let's chill out here. Let's really think what actually happened, what we want what the desired behavior is instead, and how do we get him there?
Yeah.
Or how do we get her there? Right.
Well, then my problem is too, it's like, then I'm like grilling him today.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, buddy. I'm like, who's your friends? Like, he's like, he goes, I asked him a bunch of questions. He goes, I just want you to stop asking me so many questions. I'm like, this is happening already. I'm like, you're 4 and you're already telling me not to talk to you. I'm like, this is already happening.
I saw something not that long ago, actually, that said, what was it? Okay, so if you're having issues, because I think every parent at some point complains about, hey, what'd you do at school today? Nothing. And it's like, and it doesn't really matter what age they are, right?
Yeah, for sure.
They just don't want to. So instead of asking an open-ended question like that, ask, hey, how was lunch today?
Sure.
Or like,
did you do this?
I know they do specials, right?
Yeah.
Like the different, Spanish or
Yeah.
whatever it is. If you know what that schedule is, how was gym class today? What'd you guys play in gym class today? It's very specific.
exactly.
And they
So
don't have to think. They can just recall versus trying to give you, because a lot of times what they're trying to do is give you an answer that they think that you want to hear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So instead of them just explaining what happened throughout the day, they're going to try and what parts can I say? And I don't think it's a conscious thing. It's just they want to make you proud, right? Like, like they want you to be happy about whatever it is that they say.
To say what you want. They think you want, that you want you to
and
say.
And so if you ask a very specific one, again, how was Spanish class, or what words did you learn in Spanish today? Then they can just talk about that because they know the answer and they don't have to think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
So I've been trying to do that with kids.
Actually, it's funny that you said that though. So my wife's aunt has been watching Ben like once a week or so. She's a retired teacher, and I brought Sam home the one day, and she's talking to him, and she's asking him, how his day was. But she did the same thing. She was asking him very specific things, and like, did you do this? Instead of what did you do? Like she would say very specific things, like, did you color? Did you do this and that? She goes, see, that's how you're supposed to ask them. I'm like, oh, okay. She goes, I'm like, all right, I get it. You were a teacher. You know how this goes. She goes, I also had 3 kids. I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're experienced. I know.
Well, it was funny. The way I got that was, so I don't know if we went over this or if so I own childcare centers for a living.
Right.
And so my daughter is at one of my schools and she's in preschool, and she does this thing. And again, she's 3. Like, hey, honey, how was your day today? Is what I would used to say. And she goes, I'll tell you when I get home. What? And she was just like, she's so happy to see me. She comes to the door and she gives me a big hug and all right, let's go. And I would get her in the truck and I ask, how was your day, honey? And I'll tell you at home. What? Yeah. So I talked to her teacher and then the director there. I was like, hey guys, what's going on? I get really good updates throughout the day, but she never like talks about it. And they were like, well, you see what what projects we're doing, because they're very good. They give us pictures and videos of whatever it is that they're doing. And they're like, just ask specifically about it. You already know, but let them recall something specific. And I was like, oh.
There's a lot for them to think about too.
Right.
Like when they're like, how was your day? It's like, well, I did a lot today. Let's try to figure something out here.
It's been 8 hours.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like asking me what I did at work today.
It's like,
that's like
honestly
when Liz goes, how was work? I'm like, miserable.
100% accurate.
Stressful.
That's the exact parallel though, because it's the same thing. Chelsea will ask me how work was. It was all right. It was
good.
work.
It was work. That's what
living the dream.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
But if she was asked like, hey, how did that meeting go that you had with so and
you
so?
could really
I could actually talk about it.
Sure.
You know. So that's a really good point. That it's the same thing with adults. The kids are no different.
That's very true. Now I know how he feels, because I don't like when Liz asked me how work was.
100%
I'm like, just change
right.
the subject. I don't want to talk about it.
Well, do you guys ever feel like when they ask you like how's work and like say the day went sideways, in your mind you knew all the characters and everything leading up to that.
Yeah.
So you feel like, all right, hun, you got to stop and explain like Joe, Susie, Linda,
exactly.
Brian. What I'm making these names up. But,
Right.
But you didn't know that Brian has been, screwing his portion up for months.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And then purchasing didn't sign their recs. Like whatever. So you have to explain the whole backstory.
Yep.
Just to explain like why a 40-minute meeting didn't work. Didn't work.
And that's another one.
It's true though. It's like,
to your point, like why would you? How was your day? Well,
You really want. I don't really want to get into it,
and you don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So
But there was I saw a meme the other day. It was like, being married means understanding the characters in your partner's sitcom and totally agreeing with them without actually knowing the situation. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what Susan did at work. Like,
Right.
if your wife says that she messed up, she messed up. Like, she could be completely right.
Yes.
Right.
But you're going to agree with that character, with her assessment of that character.
That's exactly right.
It's so true.
So it's like you got to go into this
Dead on.
whole. This
And that
whole
meme's
thing.
way better, by the way, than what
Well, I
how
know.
I explained it.
We,
But-
we always try to explain memes.
Yeah.
And it's like, it sounds awesome. I know how I want to say it,
Right.
but yeah.
No, yeah, that's
Oh man, that's funny.
That's so true, though.
Yeah, I mean, I love that we just like circled around and made sense of that issue
From a
though.
child
Like,
to an adult.
yeah,
See what we
right,
figured
'cause
out
it's
here?
the exact same
It's
thing.
like therapy in here. We just figured it out, man.
right.
Dr.
Good job.
Phil over here.
Well, you guys,
You're welcome.
You guys mentioned about like expecting a behavior or a response from your kids.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And this is, I have a long way in my mind. I have a long way to go to learn this. So it's like I grew up old school Italian parents. Like my dad's off the boat. My mom was born here, but her mom was literally took a boat here from Italy. So it was like my dad was like, when he said jump, if you didn't move, like your asshole's on fire,
Sure.
you're gonna get some kind of consequence.
Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
right.
Positive or negative. You know?
Right, right.
And it's not a knock to my old man. Like he's awesome.
No,
but
yeah.
he was just like, just strict. Like kids in his mind were like, you fall in line and
Yep.
you
Yeah,
do
for
what
sure.
you're told, right? So there's that ingrained in me, you know, where I'm
Sure.
thinking like, all right, I told you to clean up your toys.
I know.
And you're just sitting on the iPad, or I
Yep.
told you to, or like with my son, for example, like I can't say, Rocco, get over here, or come over here, or if he's upstairs, like come downstairs. I have to actually go up eye to eye
right.
and like get him. And that
Yeah.
took me a long time to like not just be lazy and yell from like one room, like actually go and find him,
Yeah.
and get him and bring
Yeah.
him to where I want to.
Well, and that's a huge adjustment. I mean, I remember my dad, like, I could hear his voice. I don't care if I was in the very back of the yard or if I was downstairs, if I was in the shitter, he could just talk at a normal voice and I would hear him because I knew as soon as he said something, I had to go, whatever it was, or I suffer the consequences.
Right.
But a lot of times what I think about is, and I think the hardest thing about parenting that I at least for me, is I don't have the memories of me at 5 years old. And I don't know many people that do. I
No,
mean,
but
maybe
you
some people
expect
do.
your kids to.
So like I recall like how my parents parented, but I was like 12.
Sure.
And I'm trying to use that with my 4-year-old or my 3-year-old. And it just doesn't compute.
Right.
Right? Like there's no way I can expect that, hey, Gibbs, it's time to wash up for dinner, that he's going to immediately go run upstairs and do it because he hasn't had the experience of those years of experience of understanding that like, okay, when I say this, that's what you do. And when you're 2, 3, 4, 5, like you give it a couple times and you go physically go over there and talk to them and you show them what you're doing. And what does it take 10,000 times to become proficient at something? Like,
Right. Well,
that's a lot of time. That's a lot of calling out for dinners. You know
sure.
what I mean?
yeah. And to your point, like you don't remember how you were at 5, for example,
Right.
but like I couldn't even work like the buttons on my overalls or my
Right.
zipper.
I'm
And-
like flipping out on my son the other day because he couldn't button his pants. I'm like, you have to go to school. Why can't you button that? He's like, because he's never done it before, asshole.
right. But then
Oh yeah, that's right. He's never had a button like that before. Okay.
Right. So like the joke at home, I tell my wife, I'm like, when I was 5, I couldn't even like work my zipper.
Yeah.
And my daughter's 6. She's putting on makeup. She's changing her clothes 20 times a day. She talks like a mini adult.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, my mind's blown
Right.
because when you talk to her, it's like how, I mean, the content's different. but,
Absolutely.
like, the words she's using and her facial expressions are of like someone older. And I just look at her like, where did you come from?
Right.
Like,
Yep.
how did you know how to use this in the right context? And
Well, and I
the
think
right
that's
response?
the cool thing is we're I don't care if you read all of the parenting books or listened to all of the parenting podcasts or watched all of the parenting how-to videos, whatever it is that you did to prepare to be a father. The number one thing that you're going to base how you're a dad is your parents.
Right.
And the fact is that our kids live in a completely different world than we grew up in at their age.
Absolutely.
I mean, especially, I guess any generation could argue that, but I mean, I look at us and like when we were 5 years old, there was no technology like there is now. And so like our parents didn't have it and we didn't have it as preschoolers, right?
Yeah.
Like, things were of course different and things
For sure.
Improved.
But what
and-
we
and
had
all
was
that
way
kind of stuff.
different than what our
But,
parents
like,
had.
the drastic change from when we were 3 to our kids are 3 It's just insane.
Yeah.
Right.
And so how can we possibly parent our kids the same way as they parented us? Now, you take pieces of it and
and then learn on the fly and try to adjust to it.
You take principles and you say, okay, well, how can that be applied to today? Like the screen time thing is a big topic, right? Like people all over the place. Well, how can you possibly let your kid be on an iPad and this and that? And I'm here to tell you, my kid's in kindergarten and half of his school is on an iPad. 2020 and there's kids in kindergarten doing virtual learning 100% of the time.
But there's great things on the iPads too.
They better know how to use that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Exactly, because you're going to have to use it. That's how life's going to be. You're going to have to learn how to use these things.
And again, everything in moderation. And like you don't want your iPad to be your dad.
Yeah, just so you can go escape and go.
Right,
So you're like, oh, now I can go play with my phone and
go
fuck off for a little while. But it's there's a time and place for it. Like for example, like
iPad bad is just like
no, it's ridiculous because when we had the quarantine thing, like I downloaded this app. It's called Homer, and it's a learning app for kids.
Oh yeah.
So like that's what they worked on for their ABCs and drawing their like numbers and everything and learning how to read and things like that. I mean, there's amazing things that you could do with this technology.
Yeah.
It's not all bad. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, we'll let them go and watch YouTube and flip through videos for a while, which is so mindless, by the way. They don't even watch videos. They just flip through to the next one. They're like, oh, that one looks good.
Yeah, they watch it for 30 seconds.
Yeah. It's some of it's so ridiculous, but hey, sometimes that's okay.
I mean, I do it too.
Yeah. I mean, we all do it.
Again, like kind of going back to like they're not any different than us.
We go to bed, Liz is like on TikTok. I'm messing around looking at videos on Facebook. It's like, yeah, it's all the same.
Right. Like my kids, they're not movie kids, but they will binge watch the shit out of whatever their favorite show is.
That's how my kids are.
And I try to explain to them, like, so I was born in 82, so I had some of the 80s, but most of like the 90s, whatever. Remember.
Yeah.
So it's like we had 3 channels or 4 channels.
Yeah. Yep.
Landline, one phone on
You
the
were
wall.
the remote.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a remote.
Yeah.
And then like if you weren't home on Saturday to catch Saved by the Bell, you didn't see it forever.
You missed it.
You missed it.
You missed it. That's it.
And I remember that vividly because like that was my favorite show as a kid.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
what everyone wanted to watch. Like now, like my daughter will watch me on Netflix and watch 6 episodes in a row.
We talked about this a few weeks
Yeah.
ago. Like to watch a movie, you have to go to Blockbuster, right? And you wait all week to go and you go get your movie. If there's a TV show, like there's going to be something on TV on Thursday. Your favorite Nickelodeon show, there's a new episode on. If you miss it, you missed it. And you just got to hope that one day they repeat it again.
Yeah.
Right. Hopefully,
Well,
it's not recorded. I mean, or you could set it to, get your VHS out and record.
Oh, but then the power goes out and then the time stops on it and then you're screwed.
Yeah, but like, you think about like what a drag that was. You had a plan. If your show was on Thursday night and you knew there was no DVR yet and you didn't know how to record. You planned your whole life about being home at 8 o'clock to watch whatever was on NBC.
I remember doing that for X-Men on Saturday mornings.
Oh, yeah.
Because my dad would take us to the library, and I'm like, I need to be home by 11 because I need to catch X-Men, and I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss the episode.
That whole catalog's on Disney Plus, by the way.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. That's right.
Like,
isn't that amazing, though? Like, you have endless videos, movies, shows to watch at all times.
Right.
And
it's amazing.
you still sit there and click through them.
Well, that's I would
You can never
argue
find
that
anything to watch.
It takes longer now.
Yeah, it does.
Because there's so many options, and as we're talking about this, I'm like, okay, I can vividly remember, like I was a little bit older, so I was probably 13, 14, something like that. But on Mondays, I remember Monday nights, I would have my homework done before any other night during the week. Because I wanted to make sure I was only allowed to stay up for, I think, the first hour of Monday Night Raw.
Oh, classic. Yeah.
And so, like...
Late 90s Raw was the best.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was
so
the
good,
Attitude Era, but like every other night throughout the week, I would put off my homework all day and then finally get it done at night or whatever, but I would just constantly procrastinate that. But on Mondays, when Raw started, I had to make sure...
9 o'clock, yeah.
9 o'clock, I was ready.
I know.
It was the best.
But now, like, there's no incentive for that. Like,
No, I'm like, I'll catch you later.
I
It's
can
recorded
watch it
I
anytime.
watch it whenever I
On
want.
demand, whatever.
Yeah,
You can wait
yeah.
till the whole season's done. And
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Well, I binge watched the show last week, and, usually you have to wait to
I kinda
watch the
miss
shows.
waiting.
Right.
I know, because Tuesday night,
Yeah.
it's going to be on. I'll record it, and then I'll watch it later. Like,
Right.
Like my
now
wife
I have
and
nothing to look forward to.
my wife and I talk about that. We used to have, I think it was Tuesday nights.
Mm-hmm.
It was we talked about it at your house the other day. So Tuesday nights we'd watch Sons of Anarchy,
I was about to say.
and then
Yeah.
And then every Sunday we would go over to your house and we watch Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones,
right?
or then we had Talking Dead, Walking. I think it's Talking Dead show afterwards.
Yeah,
but,
that.
But yeah, The Walking Dead we'd watch every Sunday. That was like our routine. We'd get pizza, we'd hang out.
Yep.
And,
That was awesome.
I know, like Sons of Anarchy and Justified. Remember
Justified,
those
yeah.
are
Oh,
the
yeah.
last two shows. That's actually how we got our daughter's name, Raylan.
Oh, really? Yeah, from yeah.
Those are the last shows I remember devoting time to being there in front of. Even though I had the DVR then, like
Right.
I didn't want to miss because I knew
That
on
was must-see TV.
Right, and I knew Wednesday everyone at work was going to talk about
Exactly,
Like,
you couldn't miss
what
it.
did Jax do?
Well,
or what-
those were like the last shows that were released like that, or not the last shows.
They still
but the
do
last
it.
big time shows. All the money now is in the streaming services, so they're getting released seasons at a time.
Well,
right?
you know what they
And-
started doing? Well, some of them do it like where they do it weekly still.
Yeah, but even then,
I'm like, you know what? I'll just
you can-
wait till it's over, and then I'll just watch it all at once.
Or even like they release the episodes on Tuesdays. Well, they're still there on Wednesday and Thursday. Like I remember.
Oh yeah.
With like with that stuff is you could record it, but you had to wait until the rerun came on.
Oh, with the because it was weird. how that
Something
worked.
like that, or like because they would play the episode back for like the Pacific time.
I know it seems a
like
lot.
3 hours later.
I feel like it seems like so long ago, but
I
it wasn't
know.
that long
It wasn't
ago.
that long ago.
You know, we'll binge watch something, and then I think to myself, like, why don't we just like have a night of the week where we watch episode 1?
I would love to get back to that.
right? Because you think it's like kind of refreshing, like old school a little bit, but no, you just like
No, because here's what you do.
can
You
you
sit
stop?
there.
It's
You
there.
sit there, and it goes. You're on Netflix, and it goes. Next episode starts in 5, 4, 3. You're like, oh, it's only midnight.
If it was
so
like-
I guess I'll watch another one.
I thought about that the other day. If it was like a 30-second wait,
Yeah.
I would probably watch way less.
right.
but it
But
gives,
that
gives you
5
no time.
seconds,
I
I can wait it. I got another 48
yeah, I'm
minutes
like
in me.
that's only yeah.
Right, 48 minutes go quick.
Yeah, it's fine. And then okay, it's 1 a.m. Shit.
Right. Like I was a big fan of 24.
Yeah.
And that was the last 3 minutes was always like such a
Oh, the cliffhangers.
Cliffhangers,
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, it's such a killer
and
too,
then we had
man.
to wait till the next
Yeah.
Monday. But now if that was on
Oh, you're starting right. You're starting the next episode.
I
You're
gotta
like,
see
boom.
what Jack's
I gotta
doing.
see. I have to know what he did.
Yeah.
I have to,
Yeah, I can't miss it.
Jack Bauer is like my guy.
Yeah, it's the best. Ah, man, you know what's funny though? So speaking of when we were little, like recording shows, so my mom had a box filled with VHS tapes. So I found this VCR, and one day she's like, "Well, I'm gonna throw these all out." I'm like, "You know what? There's probably like some old videos of us when we're kids and things like that. I'll go through them and see what's on them, see what's worth keeping."
Sure.
You know, so you're watching it. It's like one of my baseball games from when I'm like 10 years old. I'm like, this is pretty cool. Then all of a sudden, boom! It's like Ninja Turtles. I'm like, we recorded
Just
over
recorded
it.
over
Yeah,
it.
there's like I'm like, ah, damn it! So all of them are like shows and
90210.
movies. Like I'm like, we recorded over everything. We're such assholes. We're like, our shows on grab anything. Oh, when I was born. Here we go. Just throw that in. My first birthday. Fuck that. Just record over it.
Right.
Oh man! But I went through that box and I'm like, this sucks. This is all
Right.
old TV shows and.
On that thread too, it's like I was trying to tell my daughter, like, but she didn't get it, but she was saying she was bored. And I'm like, you have no clue what it's like being bored.
No.
And I think bored's healthy. Like being bored.
Absolutely.
Like, I think it's
creativity and- yeah.
imagination stimulates and all that kind of good stuff. Like, do you remember taking a road trip as a kid? Like even driving to Cedar Point, it felt like it was a 3-day trip.
Right. Yeah.
And if you weren't fighting with your siblings, you were like trying to color or trying to like
Yeah, we were playing all kinds of games.
road trip specific games.
Yep,
you know?
Yeah,
yep.
it was
You trying to get how many states you can get on the license
or
plates
I
or I
Spy.
Spy.
Yeah, we
constantly.
had a game. It was like a little board, and it had pictures of like road signs and different pictures and things like that. So if you saw one, you just slide it over. And then we would all have one in the car, and we'd all try to see who won it, like whoever finished first. And that was an amazing game. Like I mean, we had a blast doing that.
We played 20 questions.
Yeah, man.
And I don't think kids now know how to handle being bored.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's so much information.
There's so much
all the
stuff, and
time.
it's like just give me your phone. Like they're bored in the car. Like you said, we would take long road trips, and we would just hang out and
Right.
sometimes just talk and.
yeah.
Weird.
No, that's
What
weird.
do you mean? Talk.
Talked. That's garbage.
No, I think you're right though. I think to your point, like there's we've figured out a way to have all of this stuff just at your fingertips, right? And there's just so much out there, whether it's an iPad or it's a phone or the radio. I mean, for example, podcasting. Like, I remember being bored on like a road trip where I would get bored because the radio would play the same 12 songs over and over again. I was like, oh, what the hell? And now, like, we go on road trips, and like when my wife, back when we used to travel, but like we would just listen to podcasts, and like she picks a topic, and then I pick a topic, and we'd listen through, and we'd learn something, and that was really cool.
Yeah. I mean,
but like we didn't used to have that.
Remember we
right?
used to listen to music, pop in a CD,
Or make a mixtape.
yeah,
make a mix. Yeah.
Dude, we're driving down to Ohio State.
Dude,
Dude, I made this mix. Throw
remember
this in.
when we went to Milwaukee?
Oh man,
And I made that mix, and
we had.
I was
you
working
just got
on
your
it for
iPad,
like 3
or your
days.
iPod.
A new, like the big iPod, right?
Oh,
And
sure.
it
Hey,
was
time
like-
out. We'll continue the story.
Okay.
What's in the bag?
Oh yeah, what's in the bag?
Oh,
I am kind of
okay.
thirsty.
Because we're already like 45 minutes in. We haven't even had a drink
45
yet.
minutes already.
Yeah.
All
Yeah, that happens.
So as I was prefacing before, like I usually, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I normally stay away from like commercial
Okay.
brands that you see all the time.
Yeah.
But I've always had my eye on this. I'm a huge Buffalo Trace fan. Anything from Buffalo Trace.
Yeah.
Is my favorite. Eagle Rare is probably my favorite.
Oh, yeah.
Next to Buffalo
Right on our
Trace.
level.
You're okay.
Yeah.
You're with us.
Like if I could find it, I always buy Buffalo Trace.
Sure.
If I could find it. Like luckily this summer I've gotten 2 bottles, but
Nice.
and I actually scored a bottle of Eagle Rare, so I'm pretty set. But this was a nice bottle, I thought, and I always had my eye on it, even though it's kind of a commercially label, and I thought this would be a great occasion to have it.
I like it.
So that's the story.
I like your style.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So this is a Knob Creek
Oh,
single barrel, 120 proof,
very nice.
aged 9 years.
Actually, I haven't had this one.
You have.
Me neither.
Have I?
I went through a phase where I drank nothing but this
Okay,
for
so I
like
didn't have.
6 months. So what happened was you couldn't find it for a little while, and I went out to Arizona, and they had a bunch, and it was like out other states they have like sales because it's not a like state minimum store or anything like that. So they had whatever it was. If you bought 6 of them, I got them for like $32 a piece. So I just bought 6 of them.
So no wonder you were drinking them for the longest time.
That's all I had. So I'm like, well, I got to drink these.
Oh, yeah.
And I
have
haven't had
them.
it in a long time. I'm really excited.
I'm pumped.
So I don't know if you guys know the story behind this, but this is from Jim Beam Distillery. So the story goes is you guys know Booker's?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's like $90 for a bottle.
Right.
This Knob Creek 120 is Booker's.
It's Booker's, yeah.
So they just take the really nice Knob Creek 120
Right.
and bottle it for $90.
Yep.
and the
I
rest
mean,
goes
yeah,
down.
that's the industry, right? Like, I
yeah,
mean,
for
there's
sure. So I'm not trying to be like a bourbon snob, but I really appreciate when the bottle you're getting comes from the distillery that's on the name.
100%.
Absolutely.
That's my only.
Yeah, I
kind
get
of
it. Yeah, 100. Right. We actually just got called out on that. We did a review of Rabbit Hole a rye, and
I love rye.
yeah, we're just getting into
we're dabbling
them.
that, yeah.
But we did a review on it, and the statement on the bottle just says bottled by Rabbit Hole Distilling. And so as we were doing the review, I was like, oh, it just says bottled by. It may have been sourced from somewhere else, and whatever.
Yeah.
And it was good. We really enjoyed it. And on our YouTube video, Rabbit Hole actually commented like, "Hey, just for clarity's sake, it is our own stuff and this and that." I was like, "Well, hey, that's wonderful. Thanks for watching."
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. I still am a Bullet fan, but I would have Bullet all the time on hand, right? And then I noticed
Then you figured out that it wasn't Bullet, or it wasn't from Bullet.
Yeah, Bull doesn't have. Yeah.
Now they do have their own now. So what is it called? The Blenders Select.
Yeah.
I believe that is their own make, where it's like their first one that they've actually done.
Have you been able to find that anywhere?
I haven't seen it in a
I know.
long
I've
time.
been looking. This is really good. I love Knob Creek.
This is literally one of my. I would argue that the Knob Creek single barrels are maybe the best value in bourbon
Yeah.
because they're so good. I mean, you're not going to readily find a 9 or 10 year single barrel, well produced bourbon for
This price
was it like $45 or something like that? Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
it's wonderful. I'm really excited.
This is so good. Thank you.
you're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank
My
you very
pleasure. Thanks
much.
for having me,
Thanks
guys.
for having
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I'm a huge Knob fan. I haven't had this in a long time because I can't even remember when we drank it.
I mean, for 120 proof, it doesn't burn your nose.
No,
out
this
either.
is very smooth.
I remember when I bought those 6 bottles. This was, I mean, I was just learning about it. Like I'd been drinking bourbon for a while, but never took the time to really understand what I was drinking or the process and things like that. And it was shortly after that I was like, ooh, like these barrel proofs are coming out. I got to try these barrel proofs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, these are so hot. Like they're good. I like it. And then I'm looking at like the remnants of my knobbed 120s. I was like, wait a minute, these were higher proof than all of these things that I'm drinking now.
I during COVID, I went on a major scavenger hunt for bourbons.
Yeah.
And I have way more than I'm going to drink, soon.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But, at least it doesn't go bad. So
Right.
It's good to have, man. It's fun to go on those hunts,
is
man.
fun.
Ian sent me once. He told me, he's like, okay, well, this place is gonna have Blanton's. I'm like, all right, I'll go grab it. They open up at was like 11 o'clock or something. I'm like, on my way to work, I'll go grab a bottle. And I get up there and they have Blanton's, E.H. Taylor, and Eagle Rare. All three of them. Like,
It's like a rush.
this is like it was probably in like April or May.
Oh man.
And I'm like, all right. So I get the Blanton's and I get to my car and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I go back in. I'm like, all right, can I get the Taylor and the Eagle Rare? He's like, well, you can't. You were just in here. I'm like, I know, but I just bought the Blanton's. I'm like, I want those two. He's like, all right, fine.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, I'm in line to grab this stuff, and there's a ton of people in front of me. So I'm like, oh shit, it's all gonna be gone.
Right.
I was like the second person. Like I'm like the 15th person in line, and I was only the second person that bought any of those. I'm sitting there. I was expecting everybody to just come in there and clean it out. They're all grabbing like some cheap ass vodka and stuff like that. I'm like, this is unreal.
I don't enjoy. I won't wait in line anymore unless I absolutely know something is going to be there.
You had that
I'll
little
do it, but like I did have a
stint
streak
where
I was doing it. I was like, what am I doing? I am spending way too much time at 9 a.m. at liquor stores, right? And so I did it for a while and definitely got my collection up to where it's at and everything. And and now I just can't do it anymore unless I absolutely know something. But
It's just casual hunting.
But the funny thing is when you do that and then you just see that there's people buying like Tito's. I'm like, wait a minute, bro.
Jose Cuervo.
You're here at 9 a.m.?
They're waiting for it to open.
Yeah.
Like there's a girl in front of me. She's around our age, and she's like, yeah, I'm just loading. She's like, I'm just restocking, and she's got like 4 different bottles, and I'm like, she goes, my husband and I were just here on she's like, we were just here on Saturday. I'm like, it's Tuesday
At 9 in the morning.
I'm like, what are you doing here? I'm like, Jesus.
I like to go on my lunch break. Because
Yep, that's what I do
A lot
too.
of times you get the truck that just unloaded. But then you're leaving there and you're like, how many people are like not going on to being something productive?
Right.
For sure, man.
I know it's terrible.
I was there on lunch one day, and there was this woman with her 2 kids, and she's like asking them if they got anything, any new bourbon or whatever. I'm like, man, you had to get in here. You had to bring your kids. Like you couldn't find any time when you're by yourself.
I've never done that.
No, I haven't done that. Now I will say at Giant Eagle, I have brought Sam into the liquor store because it's like you're at Giant Eagle. We're grocery shopping. I'm like, I go, hey buddy, let's go. I gotta go check out something real quick. Yeah, let's check it out.
Yeah, the one in Willoughby's great.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
They have awesome,
Especially since they redid it. Yeah.
I have yet to find Blanton's or E.H. Taylor.
Yeah,
this year I have not seen either.
I've seen it,
but here's the problem: is that now, when those things get unloaded, they're gone in 3 minutes.
Yeah,
immediately.
And I love
that's
E.H.
why
Taylor,
these
man.
poor people that
it's
work
so
at the
good.
liquor stores, they hate it. They hate delivery days because
Oh yeah, because I mean, then you got people like us that come in there and ask you, "Hey, did you
Right.
get anything good in today?" They're like,
Right.
"Yeah, but it's gone. So just get the fuck out of here." Right.
Yeah, I'm always that guy. I'm like, got anything cool in the back?
Right.
No, a lot of people are cool about it.
Right. Then
There's
you
a
get
lot of
the
people
one
that
guy
are like,
you get the one guy that are like, everything's out that I have. And I'm
He's like, you should have been here when we opened. I'm like, well, I can't. So I'm just asking now because I know that you hide it in the
asking a
back. So I just want to
question.
ask. I just want to know.
right.
Odds are you don't,
Right.
but every now and then you get lucky.
It's fun. I mean, but you're if you really want that stuff, you almost have to do that now, or go and pay secondary prices, which
paying-
is just ridiculous.
yeah,
I won't do it.
No, no.
There's things that I would do it for, but anything that like that, I just can't. I can't.
This girl I work with, her husband just sent me a picture the other day. He got 2 bottles of single barrel Taylor.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, damn.
You buy them online,
Well, somebody he knows in Kentucky sent it to him. I'm like,
dude. It's hard to find in Kentucky.
he's like, yeah. He's like, I'm using it to. He's like, I'm trading a friend of mine for Elmer T. Lee.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
like, oh, my buddy just got that in Chardon last week.
Yeah,
He's
just
like, no
picked one
shit,
up.
man.
Yeah.
It's like, I've been looking. He lives in Chardon too. He's like,
really?
he goes there all the time, and he's like, what day was this? So I sent him the picture that you sent me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it was like last Tuesday.
Sometimes if you go in stores that are kind of on the brink of like lesser neighborhoods,
Yep.
let's say outside of the suburbs, or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
you can find cooler stuff.
Yeah.
For sure. So
absolutely.
I've noticed too when I look on OHLQ.
Oh,
Like to see
I
where they
use that
have
a
the
lot.
different. Yeah, I don't know. Like,
It's
I'm always
deceiving
like,
though.
oh, it is. It is because they're
It's
like,
just
oh,
delayed.
it is, and they're like, they say they have a bottle of something. They're like, oh, at this place right by you,
Well, and
limited stock. And I'm
from
like,
what
ooh.
I understand is the people at each store, what they've started doing is they have 24 hours to report what they got in.
Okay.
And so a lot of times what they're doing is they're waiting 24 hours, hoping that they sell it all before they have to report it. And then they'll say they had it, but it won't show up on our map of seeing that they have it. So that way they don't get people calling and standing in line and whatever.
I haven't called.
Which I get. I mean, I like Ohio's system in that if you do a little bit of work, you can find stuff at really great prices.
Sure.
On the other end of it, though, you're just kind of you're crippled by what your schedule is, right? Like,
Yeah, for sure.
You have to play the game.
Well, it's funny though. Last week, I got a text message from somebody. They're like, "Hey, Knob Creek 15's here at John Eagle." I'm like, "Damn, I just got back from my lunch." And this dude I'm sitting with, like, the guy I work with, he's like, "Dude, just go, man." I'm like, "No, I can't just leave to go buy liquor. I took my lunch. I just got back from lunch." He's like, "Dude, just go do it." So this girl I work with, her husband texts me. He's like, "Don't worry, I got 2 bottles." He's like, "So just pay me and I'll give you one." I'm like, "All right." So I got myself a bottle.
The thing that always kills me is like, say you go looking for something, and then you're like, "Oh, well, I really need a bottle," so you spend like $45 on something.
Yeah.
And then like the next few days, you just happen to be by a liquor store, and then you see the white whale. Or
Yep.
whatever you want, and then you're like, "Fuck, I'm gonna spend $90 this week on."
I know, and it's true, and we've all done it. We've all done it, man.
I better grab a bottle of wine for my wife.
Yeah.
So she-
Yep.
you know,
Well,
so-
while I'm here,
There's a dad hack
Yeah.
right there.
seriously,
You buy
Well, let me hit it here.
When you go in and buy yourself some bourbon, pick up a bottle of wine.
Yep, just find something she likes
or
too.
whatever she
Right.
likes.
So I don't know if I want to put this out there because I may spoil my source, but
Oh,
Zagara in Cleveland Heights
Yeah.
off Lee Road. They
Yeah.
have an amazing selection of bourbons.
Oh, really?
yeah.
Amazing. I found Old Weller there. Buffalo Trace has been there a couple times.
See, I've never been able to
there.
find Buffalo Trace anywhere.
Tommy told me about that place.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So it's tucked inside the grocery store.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah.
little. I mean, you can't like with everything's behind like plexiglass. And
Yeah.
stuff, and it's tucked in the corner, and then the bourbons are like off. You know, it's like the weird. I mean, it's
Yeah.
tiny. It's like
Yeah.
this corner,
Yeah,
and but it's 1 bottle per brand.
yeah.
Like I even started sweet talking my way into getting
Yeah.
2 bottles of Buffalo Trace. She's like, no, I can't. I'm like, what if I walk out and come back?
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, yeah.
But,
You just come back.
They've
You
heard
have a
it
hat.
all.
You have a hat on.
yeah.
Hey, man. Like you were just here.
But
Yeah.
Take a hike.
I thought I really like was special when I found that Old Weller, and then I like the next day I saw it at Giant Eagle. And,
Yeah.
So
not
like
the next day,
like
but
all
the
of
next
that
trip I
stuff.
saw
So
it.
Weller's a Buffalo Trace product, and you know,
Right.
all of the like we're very like people don't understand how lucky we are in Ohio that like you can find that. Like for example, when I went down to Kentucky last year, I was looking at this place, and now I was told that this place that I went to, their prices are outrageous, right? Sure. So they're a little bit even more dramatic than I was expecting, though. So I went in there, and they had Weller 107, you know, old antique 107, and I think it was $270 a bottle.
Oh my god.
I
and they had like
$25 a
and they
bottle.
right. So and that's the thing. It was literally made like 4 miles from where I was at. Like Buffalo Trace Distillery was right there.
Yeah.
But the way they run these contracts, especially with closed states, is the states negotiate. And so when Buffalo Trace wanted to push the brand out a little bit more, and they did a hell of a job doing it,
Sure.
they gave states like Ohio these really lucrative deals. And so I think the special reserve was $25 and 107 was like 32. Amazing deals,
Yeah.
right? And like even at $50, I think it's a hell of a
It's a
hell of a
Oh,
drink.
yeah. drink, man.
I'm gonna be really sad if Buffalo Trace ever goes above $26 a bottle.
It will.
It's gonna happen.
Actually, I've actually heard that Buffalo Trace is going to become an allocated item to where you have to win a lottery.
Really?
Oh man,
Oh
and,
man.
and there's no reason for
I'm
it.
gonna cry in
And
the
it's
It's
podcast.
like, oh god.
And that's the thing is there's absolutely no reason of it because they make a ton of it
Right.
and it goes out to different places and there's no reason for it other than marketing. I mean, they're
True, true.
And to be fair, it's good marketing. Like you make the supply smaller and the demand goes up. I mean,
right.
that's just what it is. I mean, I used to drink Buffalo Trace like
It was
That
easy
was
to
my,
find. Remember when
That
Blanton's
was
was
my
like
my
stocked?
bourbon and Coke drink. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Blanton's was stock. Like,
Yeah,
I remember years ago.
those little
I was walking
horses
through
were
the
everywhere.
Yeah, I was at the liquor store and I'm like, well, shit, I want to get my brother something. He likes to smoke cigars. I'm gonna get him some bourbon, and I'm like, oh, this Blanton's bottle looks cool. And there was like 15 of them on the shelf,
Yeah.
right.
and no one cared.
No, there used to be so readily available. My buddy Tom, he would collect the jockeys on top. 'Cause
Yeah.
he gets,
Yep.
you know,
It was easy to find.
right.
Now it's like, man, it's gold.
Apparently, in Michigan has crazy amount of stock on Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare. But like,
There's some places though. I follow this group on Facebook. I think it's called Bourbon Junkies. And you see these people. They post pictures of like
Oh yeah.
what they find. And it's like the stock of like Blanton's or Buffalo Trace. And I'm like, man, where the hell are these guys?
Right. Yeah,
Man?
but I mean, you got to remember what those pictures are. So a store gets their allocation for the year.
Yeah.
They make a display. They take a picture. They put 75% of it back
Right.
in the back.
So they take their picture and show you.
Yeah.
It's deceiving.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
Which I get. Like if you're running especially if you're running a store where you set your own prices. Like,
Well, we've
you
seen that before.
absolutely
That one
would.
picture I sent you guys.
Right.
I mean, some of that stuff was ridiculously
Yeah,
priced.
absolutely.
And
I mean,
it drives people in. And,
Yeah.
we don't have any more. Then they're gonna buy something else,
right.
whatever.
But I mean, that's why we don't understand how lucky we are. Like Ohio does a very good job
Oh yeah.
of getting these contracts out there to make sure that we have a pretty solid selection. I mean, is there things that I wish that we had?
Oh, for sure.
I wish we could get some Willett stuff in, like Willett's.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's amazing.
Great, but it's just never going to happen. Sure. Or I shouldn't say never. It's just not happening right now.
Not right now. It's not
one
happening.
day
I mean,
will.
it's funny though, because like I remember trying to negotiate trading a bottle. Like I'm like, okay, I got my connection in Arizona, your dad, for knob 12. I'm telling this guy, I'm like, all right, let me get a bottle of Blanton's. He had a bunch of different Blanton's bottles, and I'm like, I'll trade with you. He's like, all right, yeah, no doubt. He's like, I can't find knob 12 anywhere. So 2 days goes by, and he goes, hey man, guess what? I just found knob 12 over by the airport in Cleveland. I'm like, motherfucker. Sure enough, the next week they're everywhere. I'm like,
Everywhere,
God.
yeah.
I'm like, dude, that was my only. And then I was trying
Yeah.
to do. At one point, it was like the Weller 107, the antique, and and then it's everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere right now.
And that's how, like, a lot of times, because my parents are in Arizona, so when he finds stuff, he's like, hey, I'll trade you for some Weller because they get none.
Yeah.
And he really likes E.H. Taylor. So whenever I find it, I buy it. I mean, obviously I don't find it all the time.
Yeah, but when you do,
I keep a stock of it so that way when he finds something, I'm like, yep, I'll send you a bottle of Taylor and an Eagle Rare for that, whatever. And so he's getting it at our MSRP versus if he does find it out there, it's a couple $100, and it's just
Exactly.
hard to do that. It's just crazy how different states operate because my dad will text me, he's like, dude, guess what I found? I'm like, what? And he'll be like, dude, I found a
larceny. No.
right.
Yeah.
No, actually today he found Elijah Craig toasted.
Oh, really?
And I've been looking for that, and Ohio gets it. But
we're getting it, yeah.
We
but
only
we missed
it
it.
hasn't been around.
Yeah.
And again, I haven't been chasing trucks recently, so I was like, dude, grab me one. He's like, oh, I'm only allowed to buy one. I was like, all right, go for it then. It'll be around here eventually.
So we were trying to get Witterman to find a Taylor single barrel
Yeah.
in Vegas, and like it was there, but he just missed it.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm like, dude, I just want a bottle of that. I just
I'm
want to
trying
try
to get
it.
him to get me some Smoke Wagon right now.
Yeah.
it's a hot one coming out. It's a distillery in Vegas or in Henderson, and there was quite a bit of it around here. I don't know if it was in stores or if people were just muling it from somewhere else, but I saw quite a few pictures and posts of people having it
Around here, you said?
Yeah, but it's supposed to be really good. So I told him to keep an eye out, and he's like, "Oh, I'll go get you a couple bottles." I'm like, "All right."
I had a
Sweet.
bottle in my hands when I got this. It was from Washington State. And it was
oh,
in a
wait.
square,
Woodinville?
I think so.
Yeah,
And
we-
then I put it back.
Yeah.
Because it was from Washington State. I'm like, oh, I gotta get Kentucky.
Yeah.
And, but then I heard another friend was like, I love it. It's really, really good.
We tried it.
We did a review
Yeah.
on it. So we do live reviews over at Pub Fredo like once a month, and that's one that they got for us, and we did it. We both really liked it.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, because I used to always be under the impression that it had to be from Kentucky, but that's a myth. That's
Yeah,
not
it's
true.
a myth.
it is.
I mean-
There's so much good stuff out there. Just
Now probably still the best is made in Kentucky, but
true.
there's no rule that says it has to be made in Kentucky. No,
Right.
I always
Find
thought
some
that
good
was the
stuff.
case too, but
Did you guys ever see that? It's from Whiskey Addict. in Vegas. That's the tasting method, where like the 12-second, you hold it in your mouth, and so it's I'm probably gonna butcher it, and I'm just regurgitating. I'm not an expert on this at all.
We're gonna take everything you say to heart, and we're gonna try it on our review.
I'm gonna journal it.
So
and that's how I'm going to taste whiskey.
So you better get this right.
And I actually tested it out on my wife, and I remember going to one of the websites where they're really actually spot on with their flavors, and they said Old Weller is like an almondy taste. There's like an accent of almond, so I didn't get almond from it, but like she tried it and did the trick. And she's not a bourbon person, but she got like almond and like different things out of it. So like, you pour a half an ounce in your glass, so it's really tiny, and you take the smallest sip and you hold it in the front of your mouth, like your face.
And
I can
feel that right now.
Like that. Yeah, so, it locks up a little bit.
So all the saliva will rush to the front of your mouth, and then your tongue pulls the actual alcohol. So your tongue feels the burn. Okay. It's not going to like melt your face.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you hold it for 12 seconds, and you can breathe through your nose the whole time, but you don't open your mouth. And then all the saliva you only have a half an ounce in your glass, and you're just taking the tiniest little sip. So when your mouth starts flooding for the 12 seconds, you get like 4 or 6 swallows just from what's in your mouth.
Really?
Yeah, and you breathe through your nose the whole time, and then like I said, the liquor, the alcohol burns on your tongue.
Yeah.
It's like your tongue almost is like
taking it,
and all the flavor stays in your mouth. And the guy said on the video that you don't need water, you don't need, because your mouth's doing that for you. Like you get the flavors the distillers intended by tasting it that way.
All right, well,
we'll have to try it.
Sounds like our next review. That's what we're going to do.
On that note, I like what my dad came on the podcast, I don't know, a month ago, 2 months ago, whatever that was. And he was talking about, he went to a dinner where like the master distiller for like Macallan or something like that, so it was like a Scotch dinner or whatever. And he said the way that you should drink Scotch is, you take your glass and you hold it up, and you show everyone what an asshole you are because you're not drinking it. I was dying.
Well, I watched some of those bourbon reviews, and they'll put a little dab of water in there to open it up. And I'm not sophisticated enough.
Right.
I put rocks. I like old fashions. But
I love old fashions.
But I'll do like
that. That's what she said.
I always try to do the lower grades in old fashions. Like if it's a nicer bottle, I'd rather just pour it over the rocks.
Yeah, I agree. Whiskey is meant to be drank how you like it. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? There are people out there that say in order to get the correct taste out of it, you're supposed to put a drop of distilled water. Fine. If that's how you like to do it, great.
Cool.
There's other people that say it absolutely has to be neat. I prefer it neat, but I think that's more out of laziness, and that's how I got used to drinking it because my bar was downstairs and I didn't have any ice downstairs. So
my third or fourth one usually starts getting neat. I don't feel like getting ice anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just tried that 12-second thing. I don't know if it was exactly 12 seconds, but I held it out in the front of my mouth there.
Well, it needs to be 12 seconds.
Well,
according to this guy,
I should have just looked at the fucking computer and just realized
he was
counted it that way.
In the video.
Like, God, it's 1, 2, 3. So anyway, so kept it in the front of my mouth. So you get the burn on your tongue big time right on the front. But then I went to swallow it and I felt nothing going back. Like it was just like so smooth.
Right.
It was really different.
Yeah.
But you got a lot more flavor though.
Right. The problem with that, because I poured the half ounce one time when I was experimenting. By the time you're done, it's like a 20-minute ordeal.
For sure.
You don't even know. Like I don't know. It's a longer. But you really enjoy it. I mean,
but it's crazy though. That's like I tried that and that actually did you swallow it?
Yeah.
That's what she said.
So, but you know what I'm saying though. I didn't plan that. I didn't do it on purpose. All right. So, but it's weird though because you get all the burn on your tongue, on the front of your tongue, and then all of a sudden when you swallow it, there's nothing on the back, and it's so smooth. But you get a lot more flavor though.
Yeah.
Oh man, he's onto something here.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, all right, I can't take credit for it. Just
no, you can.
No, you know what though? I like that. I mean,
Pete came up with this on his own. You're amazing. You're a genius. We're using it.
Now Creek, I take sponsors. If you're listening
all day, man.
I mean, like, we've picked stuff up. It's funny. So, I don't know if you've ever seen any of our reviews. When we do reviews, it's complete satire. Like, we just have fun with it because we don't claim to be experts. We're definitely not experts, but we enjoy having a drink and we enjoy talking about it, right?
Yeah.
And the first one we did was May of last year, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I think it was May of last year. And that one, to me, like in my head, was the best one we ever did.
Sure.
Because there was no plan. We just had fun with it, right?
Yeah.
And now we've almost turned into this, like...
What we didn't want to turn into.
What we didn't want to turn into. But, I mean, that shows that, like, you just... How much you learn over doing it over and over
For
and
sure,
over
man.
again. And now I'm like, that does taste like a little bit of clove in there.
Yeah.
What? It smells like the cigarettes
such
in
an
the dorm
asshole.
room the guy was smoking.
Yeah, he was smoking a cigarette.
Which, by the way, I
Marlboros.
think that's the spice that we're tasting in the rise. How I always say it's kind of like minty.
Yeah.
I think what I'm really trying to explain is clove.
Okay.
When I was doing the write up for the blog,
Yeah.
for the last one we did, it was a rye. It was the rabbit hole rye. Mm-hmm. I think it's clove. I think.
People say that rye has a lot of peppery notes. I don't get it.
Yeah,
But
I don't really get the peppery either, but I have seen that. Yeah. I don't know.
I love rye
It's fun
in
doing
mixed
it,
drinks.
and I think it's cool that like different people will taste different things.
Sure.
And I think that's kind of the beauty of it is I might think something is amazing, and you might be like, dude, that shit's garbage. Like,
Right.
why are you drinking that?
Well, I used to be that guy that when I got into drinking bourbons, I'd watch the reviews on YouTube and I'd make fun of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Because they take a sip and they go, I taste leather, a little bit of tobacco. I taste
Yeah, we
vanilla
don't.
on the forefront.
We're guessing a lot. We're like,
Yeah.
it's fruit.
yeah. But then like
Don't know exactly which one.
But I was a newbie to the bourbon. I would drink it, and my experience is like Jack Daniels is not even bourbon. It's just whiskey. It's burning.
Technically, it is bourbon.
Okay.
They don't call it bourbon for marketing reasons, but it has all of the qualities to be bourbon. I just learned that actually.
Snob.
I would like joke around with my buddies. Like we did the Wild Turkey tour in Kentucky.
Oh, yeah.
He was giving his whole spiel, and me and him were like, "Yeah, it tastes exactly what I thought it would, like burning gasoline."
Yeah.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right,
right. Exactly.
I don't taste vanilla. I don't taste honey.
Right.
But
But now that you
Acclimate.
do develop the palate
it's funny
develops.
though. Like when I first started drinking bourbon, Ian was ahead of me on that. He's like, he had all this. You didn't have the collection that you do now, but
Yeah.
when you first started, I was like, I don't really, not a bourbon guy,
Yeah, you were a Tito's guy.
Yeah,
right?
I was just always vodka, So then I started getting into it, and I was like, okay, it's pretty good. And then I'm like, I don't want to drink anything but bourbon.
I know, right?
right. And
You know what I mean? Like any whiskey, that's all I want to drink. I don't care. Like
I
I'll
was
go.
on the clear liquor path
Yeah.
too. Like that and beers. Like
Yeah.
just give it to me.
I don't even drink beer anymore.
I was a big craft beer guy when that whole boom hit, and
Okay.
I don't remember the last time I had like an IPA or
Yeah, I do not drink beer anymore. Like I just love bourbon. It's weird. It's just
I'm
something I
with
do
you.
now.
Like my progression was like I started with vodka, then I got into like dirty martinis, then I went on the long, and I always like margaritas, of course, and
Oh, yeah.
and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But then I went on the longest gin and tonic kicks.
Oof.
Then I never went back to vodka. It was always just if I was going to drink clear, it was gin and tonics.
Yeah.
And then I got to gin martini. That was all good, But like to your points, guys, like I would start drinking bourbon, and I would always have beer on hand. But like I would go all through quarantine, I'm just drinking bourbons.
Yeah.
And then one day in the summer, I remember I got a real taste for beers, just like
Yeah, yeah.
nice cold beer, and it tastes really good. And then I was like, I just like drinking
Yeah.
back to bourbon.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
something
the
about
same.
beer though. Like I'm like I'll drink it and then I'm like, oh guys, I'm
I get,
full.
I get indigestion.
Yeah, I'm like,
it
oh,
hurts.
I'm burping
yeah.
up all this crap, and I'm like, but bourbon is just smooth, and it's just I don't know. The buzz is 100 times better.
It's way better.
Right.
I personally don't feel like. I mean,
I don't
we've
feel
done
like-
some episodes here. The one we did, we put away like 2.5 bottles.
Yeah.
There was 4 of us, so it wasn't that crazy.
Yeah, we
but
weren't
did
that- it
like
was
almost
just-
5 hours. Sure.
Yeah, so we
And-
weren't alcoholics or anything.
Yeah, I remember I had
This
to
is a
Uber
judgment-free
home.
zone.
It was like
Appreciate
one
it.
of 2 times I think that I had to Uber home from here.
Yeah, man.
Oh, there's one.
Oh,
It
so you have
happens.
to stand up all the way.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is
whoa.
it Italian?
There he
There
is.
you go.
So when the cat, yeah, that happens a lot. Don't
But yeah,
worry.
like
Don't
I
feel
remember
bad about that.
even that night or the
past
next
it.
morning after that one, I was like, I don't feel like garbage.
Yeah,
like,
it's amazing. I don't get those
I definitely
hangovers
know
that-
that I drank last night, but I wasn't. And I
No,
don't
you're
know
still-
if it's just you're sipping, and then I drink water too. So I don't know. Like
Right.
beers, I'll just.
I try to explain that to
crush.
people. I'm like, you know what, man? Like I feel fine the next
And
day.
I think it's no carbonation too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like if I'm drinking beers, like I'm not above Busch Light.
No,
You know,
absolutely.
and
No,
like,
I'll get. I mean, we were at
so
the
like-
bar or something. I'll get like a Bud Light or something like that. You know what I
So-
mean? I don't care.
90% of times I have Miller Lite on hand.
Yeah.
Just-
Yep.
It's easy.
It's something
Everyone
that's
likes
there.
it. It's something there, right?
Sure.
But my point is like a case is like what $18.99 now.
Yeah.
And if you want something nicer, it's now you're in the 20 range.
Yeah, absolutely.
A stupid 4-pack of something really nice is $12.99.
$12. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
I'd rather pay $25.99 or whatever for a bourbon.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And it goes a long way.
It goes a long way
Yeah.
because if you crush 6 beers, it's like, okay, now you just feel bloated. And
Yeah, you feel like shit.
feel like
In my hangover, I got a headache.
Yep.
Before I even go to bed, I'm already hungover.
Yeah.
Like,
I will say this. If, back when we could do this, but
Yeah.
you go to a ball game,
nothing better than getting a beer.
there's nothing better than a
You
beer.
gotta get a
watching
beer
a
in
ball
there.
game.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I noticed too, like if I lay it down with some bourbon and I'm feeling no pain kind of night, I don't get to like craving to go to like Taco Bell.
Absolutely. That's another thing. That's another thing.
Agreed.
But if I'm slamming like Miller Lights all night or something, that's been a long time since
Yeah,
that happened.
right.
Like,
But
really
you're right
long
there.
time.
Like, I have to
I
get
need
to Taco Bell.
nachos.
I have to get the sheets
Yeah.
now.
Right.
It's so true, man.
Yeah.
Give me a couple chicken quesadillas.
But like another thing too, like at a Indians or a Browns game or something like that, it's like, yeah, you gotta get a beer. Or if you're having like a party, a cookout, you're on the grill,
on the
grab a
grill?
Corona with a lime or something like
sure,
that, man. It's
sure.
like there's nothing better than that.
It
Like
goes hand
that's
in hand. Yeah.
exactly.
Absolutely. And then
It's just like the
then
hot
you make
summer
the
day.
switch.
Yeah,
Right.
and then you're like, now
Now
it's
the
time to
fire's
the beer.
on.
Good,
Yeah.
Yeah.
chill some
absolutely.
bourbon.
Look at us.
Look at
It's just
look
like
at us.
We're so grown up.
just getting grown up and sophisticated.
So sophisticated over here on this podcast.
I remember always like gravitating to that Mad Men Don Draper
Yes.
kind of. Not Don Draper because he was like a kind of a sleazeball, but
Yeah.
like come home from work, loosen up the tie,
Yep.
throw some ice in a glass.
That shows
pour
made me
it.
want to smoke cigarettes so bad. All I want to do is smoke cigarettes when you watch that. Man,
So
like,
like I think I was,
they look so cool.
they do. They make, movies and shows make cigarettes look amazing.
So like I feel like I was always like on a path of drinking bourbons because like I always intrigued
Right.
by that person had a cool decanter.
Yep.
and,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely. The
nice
decanter
crisp-
was always such a cool thing. I'm like, oh man, instead of have that in your office.
right.
Oh, yeah. Dude, what? So I'm building a house right now, and like the one, I get 2 places really: the basement and my office.
Yeah.
And my office, I'm trying to plan out right
gotta
now.
get a
And I'm
decanter
like,
in there.
I have a couple, but I want to get like the really fancy one,
The crystal
that sits
one?
there, yeah, with like the glasses that are always there,
Yep.
and like just have like a really good bottle in there that I keep, and then the rest of the bar will be downstairs.
Sure.
But like I've been planning out where I want that, and
You gotta have it, man. It's funny. Like I talk to these guys, that I work with now, and they've been there at the company for like, 30 plus years. Like back in the day, when we were done working, we would go up to so and so's office upstairs, and he had a full stocked bar.
Yeah.
And we'd sit here and we'd smoke cigarettes and we would just drink. And that's what they would do. They
Yeah.
would just sit there and like 5 o'clock rolled around. They're like, head up to so and so's office, and we're just gonna go up there and get hammered.
Yeah.
And sometimes they would sleep in their cars and wake up and come back to work the next morning. I'm like, dude, those really sound like the days, man.
know.
Like, I'm like, you guys used to do that? They're like, yeah, we used to sit at our desk and smoke cigarettes and like
Ashtrays.
we were just all,
overflowing with
everybody's just
cigarette
hung
butts.
over. I'm like, dude,
Shit got done, man.
and they still got the job
And they
done.
trucked through it.
Yeah, they did. They're like, we just wake up in our cars, come stroll into the office and get it done, and
Yeah,
we'll do it
we're,
again the next night. I'm like,
Amazing.
keep an extra shirt in the drawer.
yeah, just like another tie or something.
yeah.
And that's when there was like, they're wearing suits and ties to work every day too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
It's like, man,
Funny
man,
how things change.
You think about like those days, like I'm like, what you guys are describing right now sounds amazing and absolutely terrible.
I would be such a degenerate.
Oh yeah, but I mean,
If I get hung over now, it's a 3-day affair.
oh, it's so
Yeah.
miserable.
Oh,
I remember
especially when
early.
you got kids to deal with,
Oh,
right?
kids.
Like that's
when you're going to bed and you're like, I know I have to be up at like 6 or 7,
Yeah.
and I have to
you
be a
look down
dad in the
at
morning.
2:30.
Like this is not going to work for me, and they're
Yeah.
going to wake you up, and they're going to be up no matter what.
yeah.
I need breakfast. Let's do this. I'm like,
I mean,
"Ugh."
kids-
Why do you have so many demands so early? Like,
And my wife's a saint too, because like if I go out and like she's like, all right, I'll let you sleep in. The kids know that I'm in the bedroom still. They're not going to let that go.
no.
No.
They're like, why are you not awake? Get your ass out here and play with us. I'm like,
Right.
oh, I'm so
Yeah.
tired. I feel like I'm dying. Please leave me alone.
Right.
And then the funny thing is like you'll get through it, and I don't know whether it's the next night or it's a week or a month later. That doesn't deter you from doing it again.
You'll do it
right?
again
But-
because it's an opportunity to go back out and do it.
The worst is if it's like Saturday night and you lay, and then Monday you still feel kind of crappy.
Oh my
Yeah,
God,
work
man!
all
It's
day.
amazing how
while,
that
yeah.
like that carries over.
I know.
But with bourbon, I don't really get that too much.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember the last time. I think the last time was probably when I was still mixing it, and again, I think it has a lot to do with the carbonation for me at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I used to do the
God, I used to
so with
just-
Tito's, and what I used to do was Tito's and just soda and a lime, which is basically like water.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that stuff just goes down like water. I mean, I'm just chugging that all night. Next thing you know, I'm fucking just hammered. But I would always feel like shit, and maybe it's carbonation.
Yeah. You know what's weird is in college, like if say you drink Bacardi and Coke
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and you get drunk and you go on about your business, but like I remember was Halloween night. I drank Pepsi and Bacardi.
Mm.
And I got so fucking wasted. And like I was my buddies carried me home, left me right in front, opened the door, left me in the front carpet, and that was it. I was in my Halloween costume.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, man, that was crazy. And then a couple evening, whatever came about, and I'm like, I got the Pepsi and Bacardi again, and I blacked out again. So like I thought like
Pepsi, man.
it was something with the Pepsi, like because the volume was probably the same.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it was
right.
with the Pepsi.
something with the Pepsi.
Yeah, so
Jesus,
Yeah,
Pepsi's
that's
got something
crazy.
hidden there.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
It is weird though how things like that happen. I mean,
Yeah, there's a certain mix of things.
right,
I could
and
drink the same volume of bourbon or vodka. If I drink vodka, I am a wild man.
Okay.
But
That's
I could
why-
drink the same amount of bourbon and just be happy. And,
Yeah, I'm gonna-
and by the way, the vodka is what, maybe 80 proof.
But there's something about
And
it
I
though.
could be drinking 120.
That's how I
proof
was with
bourbon.
tequila. Like I get drunk on tequila. I'm out in the backyard fighting trees at the end of the night. Like I don't, I'm just an angry person. Like
Yeah.
this, like tequila was like I don't even know something about tequila. Now, if I smell tequila, I just want to puke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like we talked about it the one day. We were saying we wanted to try
the Terramana?
Terramana, and I'm
Yeah.
like, and I sent a picture to Ian. He's like, "Oh, I'm just feeling nauseous thinking about this." I'm like, I could smell it through the picture.
Fortunately for me, during my early 20s and stuff, I didn't. Spectators.
Pete, this happens
Yeah,
a
it
lot, man.
happens.
Don't worry. Usually it's chicks,
Big
but
fans.
whatever.
Oh, yeah.
There's the dads. Oh my god, it's so hot. It's like, yeah, we know.
Is that the dads?
Oh my god. I'm like, I know,
Yeah.
bitches.
Well, luckily during my partying years, I wasn't into tequila, so I never had a bad tequila night. Luckily,
Oh, that's
when
Yeah, I had
when
some bad
drink,
ones.
When I drink margaritas, I'm really happy-go-lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, margs are different though. Like I could
something
drink
about a
some,
margarita.
I could put some margs down.
Yeah.
But if I'm
Especially- yeah, when you're
shooting tequila,
No, I can't. I don't shoot tequila.
No, because I think about those days, man. Something about
It just smells like a bad decision.
Yeah.
even taking shots of vodka. I was never big fan of.
I remember a lot of
Hanging out
Jaeger
with
bombs.
Paul, the orange
oh,
vodka.
Jaeger
Ugh.
bombs.
Jaeger
Oh,
bombs.
yeah.
That was really popular. in
Yeah, I like
college.
Jaeger
Well,
bombs.
then it changed to what was it, like the cinnamon one?
Fireball.
Fireball. That's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
anybody was drinking.
Ugh.
Like anybody, like, hey, we got a round of shots. Sweet, what are we drinking? Oh, Fireball. It's like I
Yeah,
don't want to do that, man.
not a big fan.
No,
I think vodka took over for Jaeger for me. Like after I got above 21.
Yeah, right.
Jaeger stopped. And
well, it's like 21, man. Let's think back to my 21st birthday. We were drinking. We knew the I don't want to say the bartender, was the waitress. So she was serving us beer all night because I was like the only one there that wasn't 21 yet. So she's serving us beer from we got there like 8 o'clock. So I'm drinking beer the whole time. She's serving us, and then I'm like, okay, it's midnight. I'm heading to the bar. I'm gonna go get my first drink. Go to the bar and I get a shot. And sure enough, I'm like, I want to show my ID. I'm so pumped
sure.
about this. I
Yeah.
want to do this. This is like what I've been waiting for.
Yeah.
I ordered the drink and he goes, here you go. I'm like, well, fuck. Because he's been up here all night. So anyway, that night was such a shit show. My friends were assholes. They were just buying me terrible shots the whole time. 3 wise men.
Wasn't me.
I know you were there. You were fighting the war. But
Back
no,
in the
I mean,
war.
blackout, just miserably drunk. Okay. This was a Sunday night. Went to school the next day. I was at Lakeland at the time, and I was fine. That night was Raju's birthday. The next night was Raju's
yeah.
birthday. So I went out the next night for another 21st birthday and did the same thing again and was fine. Can you even imagine doing that? Like to the point where my friends brought me home. I'm puking in the front yard.
Dude, I was like,
And then I woke up and went to, was fine.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh, I'm good.
it's a
21
young-
years old, man.
It's a young man's game, man.
It
I remember
really
I was
is.
like 19 or 20 years old, living in the barracks, and my roommate and I, he was from Ohio. He's from Western Ohio. I can't remember exactly where, but he was a Jack Daniels guy. And at the time, I was like, dude, if I drink Jack, I'm going to fight somebody. I don't think that was ever the case,
No.
but whatever. Right. But I would get white label Jim Beam, and he would get a fifth of Jack Daniels. And every Friday and Saturday night, we would each put one of those down. And I'm talking in a few hours before we went out, we would each put a bottle down.
Yeah.
Get up at 4:30 in the morning. Go to bed
do your
at
thing.
2.
Do
Get
your
up at
march or
4:30 and
whatever,
run. Do a 3-mile run,
And then run.
and then just be fine for the rest of the day.
Can you even imagine having to do anything
was
I was a superhero when I was in my 20s.
I mean, there's probably a picture somewhere, but we would keep our bottles, and you had to put them away for inspections and stuff like that. But as long as they were locked up, no one knew. And there was 30 bottles of white label Jim Beam at one point. And I was like, oh, I got to stop. It's been like 3 weeks.
Oh, God. Yeah, we've all been there, man.
The good old days.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to go back real quick, Ian.
Yeah.
Because I interrupted your story earlier when we were going out to Milwaukee with your iPad or your iPod that you got.
Yeah.
Oh, the big iPod.
Yeah. So what was I going to say? Oh.
Because we were talking about the
like,
playlist
road
and everything.
trips and stuff
being
like
bored.
that. And
I remember sitting at your house, like loading that iPod
we waited
for hours.
like 4 hours. We left 4 hours late because the thing was loading and
It was
whatever,
uploading all the music to
uploading
the
all the
iPod.
music to it. I'm like, well, dude, we got to have road trip music.
Yeah, we
And
can't drive
left
8
like
hours.
3 or 4 hours late because it was still going.
That was so dumb. But we got there like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And I'm getting out of the truck, and our buddy that lived in Milwaukee, we're going to visit him. And we're getting out of the truck, and Ian's like, hold on, man. Like I'm trying to say hi to my buddy. I'm like, hey, what's up, dude? You know, Ian's like, hold on, guys. I'm trying to turn off my iPod. My buddy looks at us. He goes, it's 2008. And I still remember that because I'm like, I think about that now. I'm like, it's 2020. Jesus.
Yeah, right. God, yeah, that
so
was
long
12
ago.
years ago.
But the best part is, so Ian's always been, and it seems like the day after drive, like I was always the driver.
Yeah.
Okay. So this happened a few times. So Ian was like,
To be
my
fair,
co-pilot.
I
right?
would always volunteer to drive on the way there.
Yeah, he did it. And I should have picked up on this. This is my
In
fault.
the back of the way home.
I was the idiot. So I'm driving home, and this happened on multiple occasions where I'm like,
yeah.
all right, I'm going to drive. Ian's like, don't worry, man, I'll stay up and we'll hang out. It's cool. I'm like, all right, cool. So one example was Ohio State the one time. It was our friend's little brother's birthday, and you, myself, and Liz went out there. And we're leaving early in the morning, and I'm driving out of the parking garage. Ian's like, dude, it's cool. Don't worry. He's like, I'm going to stay up with you the whole time. Don't worry. It's going to be awesome. I'm like, all right, awesome. This is great. I'm not even halfway out of the parking garage. Ian's head is back, and he's snoring already. I'm like, well, this is sweet. So it happens again in Milwaukee. We're driving home, and Ian wakes up, and I'm like, hey, man, you know, it's so crazy. Like, the ride home is so much faster. You know, he's like, well, it's because you're looking for landmines the whole time. I'm like, landmines? I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, you didn't tell me there was landmines this whole time. That's the best. He's like, I meant landmarks.
Landmarks.
I am, though, man. Even to this day, I don't care if I'm hungover or not. Like, you put me in a moving vehicle that I'm not operating, I'm out.
Me too.
Like, I can drive. Yeah. I mean, I did the drive to Arizona.
Yeah.
And I was able to, I was driving for like 20 hours straight before I stopped, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm fine. But if I'm not the one that's operating, I have no...
Yeah.
There's no reason to be awake.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
like
relaxing.
Some people are like, oh, I'm not in control, and so I feel nervous. I can't possibly fall asleep.
Nah,
I'm the
I'm
same
good.
way on planes. I'm out cold.
I don't-
like before we take off, and a lot of times I won't wake up until we
If I don't
land.
trust the driver, then I'll drive. Right? So, I mean,
Yeah.
then I'll pass out if I'm not
Yeah.
driving. You know, if I'm like, okay, I trust you enough to drive this car, I'm going to sleep.
My in-laws live about an hour and 15 minutes away, and I will always fall asleep if I'm not driving.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so easy
so
too, man.
comfortable.
Jen's
Moving.
always like, who's
Until
going
you-
to take care of who's going to watch if the kids need something? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like,
Oh, not me.
Just wait. Hey, wake me up.
Yeah,
I'm going to
yeah,
sleep.
Right.
right. They put
Yeah,
me
I
to
love
sleep
it.
like a baby.
I love it, man. People used to, but I've always been that way. I mean, I
too.
remember we were doing, it's like a little war story here, but like I remember we were doing a helo raid in Iraq, and I'll never forget this. I got yelled at because we got all of our stuff together, and you're kind of pumped up, right? Like you're going to do some stuff, and it wasn't anything crazy. Like we're whatever.
Right.
But we get in the helo, and you tether in, but I was a guy in the end, so my leg was off the side, and we were going maybe like, I don't know, it was like a 30-minute, or probably not even 30 minutes, probably a 15-minute ride, and I fell asleep. I'm like, what was I going to do?
It's relaxing,
You know what
man.
I
It's
mean?
loud.
Yeah, it was
It's
loud.
your
Smooth,
adrenaline.
Your
Like, yeah.
adrenaline's coming down.
Yeah. It's like, it's gonna
And then I was
relax.
up and I was good, but like they're like, how do you do that? Like you're on basically halfway off of a freaking helicopter. I'm like, I don't know. What's gonna happen?
This guy's a professional.
If we go down,
We're
we go
good.
down.
Yeah. I'm going to sleep, man.
I'm talking
Yeah.
about falling asleep in a 4Runner and a comfortable ride.
Yeah, this guy's in a helicopter, but getting ready to go into battle.
desert. Yeah.
He's like, all right, we're getting in here. We're just going to go land in the war zone here, but I'm just going to pass out real
It
quick.
wasn't that dramatic.
Okay, I know. I just picture like Saving Private Ryan, like on those.
You got the guy cleared hot.
Yeah.
Drop him
He
in.
gets passed out. Oh, we're there? All right, then I guess I'll just hook on and just jump out real quick.
Yeah,
Oh,
no.
guys, we're here. Yeah.
Oh, weird. Oh, that was fast.
No, but I would always be able to just fall asleep, like Humvees,
Well, you think about
whatever.
it like you think about that too with like kids. Like my kids will fall asleep. Well, I say my kid Ben doesn't fall asleep for anything.
No,
Sam falls asleep in the car
Those
all the
kids.
time. It's amazing. Like tonight, for example, mind you, it's a Friday night, and I don't have to put the kids to bed.
Right.
Sam passes out at like 7:30 on the way home from the playground at night. I'm like,
Yeah.
and then Ben goes straight to bed.
Yeah.
And I go, well, good for you, Liz. You get to
Yeah.
enjoy your night.
Yeah,
All
enjoy
week
your-
when
your
you were
me
at
time.
work late, they were staying up till 9:30, and I can't get them to go to sleep. And they're screaming down the hall, Dad, read me another book. I'm like, oh my God. But Friday night,
Yep.
when I have nothing to do tomorrow,
Right.
And
We'll
they'll
have a
be up
podcast
at-
tonight.
They'll be up at 6 a.m.
they will. But tonight they're both sleeping by
Yep.
8 o'clock
So
tonight.
your wife and mine had sounds like they had a lot of the same schedules
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a long time. So my wife would come home at like 9:30, 10 o'clock too.
Yeah.
And for 6 years, I would leave work, pick up the kids at the babysitter, and dinner, bath, play, TV, the whole thing, and
Put them to bed, and
Put 'em
then
to bed,
and then
and-
she strolls in.
well, like I would tell her, like if the rare cases where like a client blew her off or didn't come in or
Yeah.
something, she'd come home. I'm like, don't come in. Like that window.
We've got a routine.
Yeah, we got a routine, and like my routine was always really dialed in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was
it's like
no
regimented, yeah.
regimented. Thank you. And if she'd come in, they'd be like,
Exactly.
Yep.
She'll come home sometimes, and I'll be like, "Stay in your car, or go to Target or something," because
Target,
they're laying down and they're just settling down. If you come in the house right now, they're gonna both be so excited.
Right.
They're not gonna go to
now
sleep.
It's gonna be 11:30.
That's so funny. That's exactly how my schedule is.
Same thing.
it's
I don't know how you guys do it. Like that's
it's
that would be
mine
rough.
is Tuesday and Wednesday nights.
That was my wife's schedule there too.
Yeah, so Tuesday, Wednesday nights is my day. So I pick them up and then I have them dinner, baths, bedtime, all that shit. And I do it. It's fine.
Right.
But it's the same thing though. Like, don't come in the house. Do not come in here until they're
It's so
sleeping.
important to have those schedules, though. I mean, it makes
they
such
know
a
what to
difference.
expect,
I mean, I know even adjusting to this year. So I only have my kids from like 4 to 5 by myself. Like, I'm very lucky in that my wife works like a really regular government job schedule, and so she's always home by 5 o'clock.
Sure.
And so sometimes I'll pick Gibbs up at 2:30 when he gets out of school. Depends on what my schedule is for that day. But so at the most, it's like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And like, if I don't have it planned out what we're going to do, again, I feel like crap because it's like, okay, well, I'm still trying to get this done or whatever. So now I just leave him until I get my stuff done so I can pay attention and, whatever. But
I mean, I'll be
having the
honest with you. I mean,
schedule-
there's some nights where I'm like, we go to
yeah.
my mom's house or something. We'll hang out there. And I'll keep them there till like 7:30 or something like that. I'm like, all right, maybe the car ride, maybe they'll pass.
Yeah, sure,
I'm
absolutely.
like, take a bath at Mimi's house, and then
Roll the dice a little bit.
yeah, I'm like, I get home on my lunch. I'll go home, grab their pajamas and everything, and I'm like,
Smart.
have this in the car. I give them their blankets and their stuffed animals, and I'm like, all right, guys, get comfortable on the ride home. And I have a nighttime mix, which is like songs that I like, but they're like relaxing songs.
Yeah.
And they know it too. Like Sam will be like, can I have a
Cardi
bedtime songs? Yeah. Can I have WAP? Can you play WAP for me? I'm like, no, we're not listening to Wet Ass Pussy right now. Okay. But yeah, I mean, like I have the playlist and everything, and I'm like, fingers crossed they pass out on the way home, and I can just carry them in and put them down, and then I'm like,
That's glorious.
my TV shows.
He never falls asleep.
yeah, Ben won't. I'll look in the mirror and I'm like, okay, Sam's passed out. Look over at Ben and he's like smiling at me. I'm like, son of a bitch, man. I'm like, just go to sleep, man. And then he'll go, shh, Sammy's sleeping. I'm like, okay, you need to go to sleep too, buddy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's sometimes I get lucky with that, but majority of the time it's at home, dinner, bath. We'll watch like a TV show or something.
Sure.
We'll read books and then we'll go to sleep.
Right.
And it usually works out, but this week was just wasn't happening.
Bedtime went to shit during COVID.
Oh my God, man.
Especially in last March where it was like free for all at school.
Yep.
And 9:30. It went from like 8 on the dot.
Yep.
To being like.
Oh yeah, it just didn't matter. Like I'll put a movie on, you lay in our bed, and like that became a routine.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're like, well, and like a lot of nights they're like, can we just watch a movie in your bed tonight? I'm like, buddy, it's time to read a book.
Yeah.
And time to relax. We're not watching a movie.
The problem is when all that was first starting is
on the chair.
nice.
Oh, two. I didn't even notice.
I didn't notice either. When all that was first starting that's when the days were getting longer. So that's already a hard time for
Yeah,
kids
because they're like,
to go to
they're
bed.
like, I don't
'cause
understand.
it's not dark out.
The sun's still up. Why am I going to bed? It's like,
Right.
We're
'cause
getting that
time.
time change here
My
soon.
kids are animals at daylight savings.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
they all are.
It's
Animals.
a nightmare, man. Like I don't get it.
They absolutely all are.
And try to explain that to them too. They're like, well, why is it so
Right.
bright out then? I'm like, well, it's just because time change. Like, oh yeah, I get that, Dad. Yeah, time change. Sure.
Yeah.
Makes
Well,
complete
because that's
sense
going
to
to
me.
happen here soon, right? We're going to fall back.
Halloween, I think.
And yeah, I think so. And so then now it's been nice right now because it kind of gets dark at 7 o'clock. I mean, no one wants that, but
No.
from a putting kids to bed standpoint,
nice.
it's really nice because especially my daughter, like my son, he's always been a good sleeper. If I tell him it's time for bed, as long as we do our brush your teeth and put your jammies on and read
it's
your
a routine.
books, like he's good.
Yeah.
With Sloan though, she doesn't give a fuck. She's just some days she wants to snuggle, some days get out, some days, she'll go right to sleep, some days she'll come out of her room 32 times. Like,
Yep. That's like Ben the one
haven't
day.
figured her out.
Ben is always doing the same shit, man. Same thing.
Our daughter's going through a phase where she always wants Jen to lay with her,
Yeah.
but she falls asleep really fast.
That's great.
So it's not very long, but like she has a loft bed. So okay, it's bedtime. Come on, brush. Everything's all set. And like, come on, go. I'm like herding cats,
Yeah. Get in there.
And then she has to touch like every little knickknack in her room.
Yep. Set it up perfectly.
And then go like check her Chromebook for school the next day, and then like check her stuff, whatever, like stuffed animal of the moment happens to be like the most important.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Where's this stuffed animal?
So now from just her having to go up her ladder in her bed, that takes like 10 seconds, just turned into 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Yep.
right.
I was like, oh,
And
wait,
that 5 minutes
there's a toy. I thought of
feels
something.
like
And
hours.
she comes out of her room. Like,
Yep.
Oh, you're going the wrong way.
I'm like, I don't understand why you're doing this. Just go to bed, please.
It's so
Like-
crazy. Like, it's just such a kick in the balls, kind of, because, like, I remember not wanting to go to bed, and then
Well, yeah.
even when you're growing up and have no responsibilities in your early 20s, and there's nothing to you got to go to work, but we could go to work hungover and like be fine,
Yeah.
or, whatever.
survive through the day.
And now, as parents, you're just like, I am literally trying to get you to do the only thing that I want to do.
Yeah.
How are you not understanding that this is amazing?
Yeah, this is, just
know.
go to bed, man. It's going to be awesome.
When
You're going to love it.
I always was a pretty easy sleeper when I was little, but I was always up at the butt crack of
That's
dawn.
how I was
Yeah.
too.
And I still am. Like I'll be up at 4:30 in the morning, so like 9 o'clock I'm dying. Like
Yeah.
I want to go to bed so bad.
Yeah.
So that's like me when I finally get something that I want to watch, and I'm like, okay, I lay down. I just got the kids to bed, and I really want to watch this show. And as soon as my head hits the pillow on the couch, out.
Yeah. Same here.
As soon as I
what
get
it
comfortable, I mean, it is what it is. But there's
don't
like,
even make it through the theme.
Yeah.
The theme song.
Yeah,
or the
right.
intro or whatever.
it's true, man. I'm like, oh, I really want to watch this. I finally found something I want to watch.
Yep.
Yeah, same here.
Yep.
It happens every time, man.
It's all right though.
Yeah.
Good. Means you put a day in.
You know what I love too, and your kids have probably all done this. It's like it's time for bed. And they're like, oh, I need this. I need this
I'm so
exact.
thirsty.
I need,
so thirsty.
I'm so thirsty. Sam tells me all the time he's starving. You know what he told me yesterday? And I knew he was going to say this. I told him, I'm like, you have to eat your dinner because we're not eating any snacks at night. I'm like, this is your last meal. This is it. He goes, okay. Doesn't eat any of it. And then right before bed, he goes, oh, I should have eaten dinner. He's like, can I have a snack? I'm like, no. I told you. I explained this to you at dinner time. If you don't eat your food, you're going to be hungry later. You're going to be asking for snacks, and you're not getting it.
My daughter's the same thing. She'll pick her food, like nitpick it, whatever, and then 9 o'clock is like, I'm starving. And
Yeah, I'm starving.
won't go to bed without snacks. Then she's negotiating. Well, just give me an apple.
Yeah. So can I just get like a cereal bar? I'm like, no, you're not getting anything.
Right.
And then I go grab a
It's
cereal
all
bar 10
about,
minutes later.
I mean, at least for my kids, and I think it's probably true for most kids, is are they actually tired, right? Because we have to keep the same schedule. But I notice on days that my kids have activities, it's so much easier to put them to bed because they were running around doing something afterwards. Or if I take them to the park after school and we run around for a little while, so much easier to put to bed. But the days that I'm lazy or the
cooped
days
up
that
or
there's
whatever.
something going on and I'm
Cooped
just
up.
like, here, go ahead and watch your show. You guys, as a reward.
Yeah.
Really, all I'm doing is just making my night miserable because now they're not tired.
Yep. And they're wide awake. And you're like, okay, let's go read a book. They're like running around the house.
Like, no, bro, I still got this energy. I got to burn off.
Yeah, like I don't. I'm like, I need these 2
Mine's
hours to
been gone
myself.
for
Please.
days.
Please give me these 2 hours to myself. That's all I need. I just need it. I need to wind down.
Well, that's the dad law, right? Is like a dad will stay up no matter how tired he is for at least 2 hours after his kids go to bed just to get that alone time.
It's true though, man. I have my alone time on the couch where I just sit there.
Yeah.
See, my alone time's in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I'm up at 4:45
Yeah.
or whatever, 5 o'clock, and I'll have coffee and chill out. And then I like to go to work early too. I'm usually there an hour before I have to be.
Yeah.
And it's just how I operate.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Like even tonight, I was here like a half hour. Before.
Yeah. You're like, I'm sorry
like,
for being
sorry
early. I'm
for
like,
late.
hey
I'm
man,
like,
I
dude,
love
we just
people
got
being
here.
early. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
If you want to watch the setup, it's fine.
So that's my routine is
Yeah.
the morning.
Yeah,
is
it-
early,
and-
alone time.
That was mine. So pre-COVID, I same thing, man. Up at 5 every day. I would go to the gym. I had all this. That was my time. That was like me time, and I love that. And then I kind of got away from that, and then the kids started school, and then Sam's at school where he needs lunches made. So I'm like, okay, I wake up at 5, but that time that I used to have for myself to go to the gym and everything, now I'm like, I gotta make everybody breakfast. I gotta get them ready. I gotta lay out their clothes for school, and like I let Liz sleep because she works her crazy hours. So I'm like, okay, I take care of everything in the morning. So my time that I used to have is just gone. I'm like, damn it, man. So I'm thinking to myself the other day, I'm like, okay, so in order for me to be able to go to the gym, I'm going to have to wake up at 4, work out for an hour, then come home, and then start making all this shit, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of nights where I don't want to pack the lunch.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't want to do anything. I'm like,
dude, at the end of the day,
I'm like,
when
I'll
you're
just
done,
do it.
you're done.
I'm done.
Right?
I'm like, I don't want to do anything.
That.
I'm like, I'll just do it in the morning. Right. I have the time in the morning. I'll just do it in the morning.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I've been the last month.
Well, and again, I think that's okay because, again, kind of being self-aware about the time that you have and how you want to use it, right? You have to prioritize everything. So if it's super important for you to, like, if you know that if you don't go to the gym 3 days a week, then you're just miserable. Okay, then make the time for that.
Right.
And if that means that but that might mean that you have to sacrifice 3 nights a week, you have to sacrifice doing your shows for, 45 minutes, whatever it takes you to get that stuff ready for the morning so that you can do it. I think just understanding what's important to you is kind of the beginning, and then you reverse engineer your time from there. And it's easier said than done.
I think it's at this point in time, I just need to find. I have to find a new routine, because for me, if I work out at night, like I could go to the gym after everybody goes to bed. I could go do that. That's an option. But I know that if I do that,
You're wired.
I'm gonna be wired.
That's
I'm not
how
going
I
to bed
am
at like
too.
1 a.m. I'm just gonna be like all over the place. I'm gonna start doing stuff around the house. I'm gonna start, which is great because that workout definitely
but
gives me
how
that
long
extra
can you
kick.
sustain that for?
Exactly. That's not
But-
gonna work.
Pre-kids, nighttime was my
really?
workout time.
Yeah.
Like, 7:30, 8 o'clock. Then I'd be home by 10, shower, bed. I could fall asleep. But now, like, that'll never happen because, like, I'm kind of a lazy person. Like, I got to really fight that battle and the internal laziness. So if I was like, all right, I'll just work out tonight, I'll find so many reasons
To not.
to not.
Exactly, because you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna
Dinner
relax tonight, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna lay on the couch.
Yeah, dinner came up. Then we're like, oh, let's have ice cream. Oh, ice cream sounds good.
Yeah, right.
And then now it's bath time. The kids aren't going to bed. Now it's close to 10.
That's why I think
Like,
morning
I'm not
has
gonna
to be
go.
that time.
I
feel like
I got away from that. Like, I used to do when I started to work at 8. I had the mornings where I could work out and stuff. But now I've been squeezing it in, like, when I get home or something.
Yeah.
Or if I do jujitsu, it's that'll be my workout for the day. And
Right.
I'm usually like 1 or 2 days a week. I'll do the rolling, and that's luckily I get that time to go away and do that.
for sure.
Well, and I think that to that, I think it's really important. I mean, think about how much we prioritize whatever it is for our kids, right? Like, and whether it's, gymnastics or it's football or
whatever.
soccer, or dance, whatever it is. Like, we understand that it's healthy for these kids to do extracurriculars, right? And at the same time,
we need to do.
we
extracurriculars.
sacrifice literally all of that because we want to make sure that they can get that stuff in.
For sure.
And I think that's wonderful. But at the same time, like,
You gotta
can't we normalize saying, hey, I need my time to be able to do that?
For sure.
And that's going to be different for everyone. Maybe you need 1 hour a week. Maybe you need 5 hours a week.
And
Like,
I struggled with that a lot. Being a new dad I feel like I lost my identity.
yeah,
Sure. And I think we all went through that
Because,
for sure.
like, let's see, back it up a little bit. Like, I started grad school and I started jiu-jitsu, and that whole year, before that, I met my wife. We got engaged, got married and all that stuff. So I was like hardcore so I was going like 4 or 5 nights a week, but it was great because she didn't get home to work till like 9:30.
Yep.
10. So I was already home, showered, and like,
right.
Good to go.
I was gone.
Yeah.
And no one was missing you. Like
Right.
it was, yeah.
So then my son came, and I was still trying to do that 4 or 5 nights a week, and it caused a lot of tension at home.
Yeah, for sure.
And so my mat time reduced, and so then I started feeling like, oh man, these guys I used to do really good against are now like catching up.
Yeah.
And then I'm going like 1 day a week, and then like one day every 2 weeks. And
Yeah,
it's
and
like,
you're kind of losing it.
then I'm
And
feeling more pathetic, and then she got pregnant with my daughter, and for some reason she was getting her morning sickness in the evening.
Ooh.
And so like I couldn't just come home and be like, huh,
See ya.
Yeah. Hey, see, I'm going to go and do this.
So I went to a school closer to home, and then that didn't work out, and then I had to go, and then I just kind of just bit the bullet and went on hiatus. But like during that time, like I just felt like you put all your dreams and hopes, and not hopes, I shouldn't say that. You reallocate your
For
time
sure.
because you got to put your kids first. You gotta put
Yeah,
your wife
absolutely.
first. And I was always trying to. I don't want to sound like a dick, but like I was always like, I always try to fit it in.
Yep.
Juggling. I try to put in the kids, the wife, the family, the job, the career, and like whatever activity made me feel alive.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the grappling. But unfortunately, that went on hold because I was gone for like 3 hours every time I would do it.
Yeah.
And about 3.5, 4 years went on where I went on hold. So during that time, I was like running in the mornings.
Yeah.
So I was trying to cause this least amount of impact to the family life with whatever extracurricular I was trying to get into.
Yeah.
So it was finding that balance, like finding like it's struggling in your mind. Like you're like, am I good enough dad? Am I a good enough husband? Am I doing well in my career? Am I still chasing goals? Am I still chasing like, who I want to be?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and like you struggle with like, yeah, you're successful in like 2 of the categories, but then what's like,
Right.
is it really, I know I'm never going to be like, when I was running half marathon, I knew I wasn't going to be like,
But I
the
mean,
Boston Marathon.
exactly.
It was just like running in Lyndhurst.
But still, that's like that was your thing though. Like that was what you were doing, and that's what made you feel good. And then you have something that this huge curveball comes, and all of a sudden you're changing your entire lifestyle.
Right.
And you're like,
because even if you see the curveball coming, it still curves.
It
right?
curves.
Like you know that it's coming, but it still drops.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like, holy shit, wasn't expecting this, and then life changer. Right.
Right.
Like my wife though, she has a, how can I say this without like really making everyone mad? She really put everything on hold. Like
They always do.
Yeah, they do.
She puts the kids first. Like she will stay up till 1 a.m. to get her alone time,
Right.
rightfully so. But like sometimes she's like, you can just go to bed, and I'm like, all right, so 9:30 I'm going to bed because she knows I get up early and I have a big day ahead of me all the time. But like she sacrifices everything for the kids.
Yep.
Everything. And then like I kind of feel like a dick because like I'm still chasing aspirations of,
You know what though? So you're not a dick,
No.
but you
thank
still,
you.
but yeah, because you're human, and the fact is that you realize that you have that
Feel
compassion,
good.
like so you feel bad about it.
right.
So yeah, you're not a dick, but we all want to do these things, and we have to find time for ourselves, because if you don't, then you're going to lose your mind, and that's going to put a damper on everything.
Right.
That's going to put a huge, that's going to put a lot of stress on the relationship and everything. So for us to be able to do our thing and try to stay sane, that's very important.
Right.
Like, I mean, we have to do that.
That was the silver lining that came out of taking those 4 years off, was like when COVID came and no one could train at all because everything was closed. I knew I would come back. I took 3.5 years, 4 years off, and I came back. I was still in good shape, luckily, but there's a grappling shape, and then there's like good shape.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's some things I had bumps and things I had to get in, but like I learned that like you don't have to live at the academy unless you want to be like a world champ. And that was I was just learning. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm learning self-defense. Like
And I think to that point, like in anything, whether it's work, it's school, it's an extracurricular, whatever, like I think it's important, and this was a hard lesson for me to learn, and I think I've got it down, or at least I'm aware enough about it now, is that I don't need to be the best in the world at something, because that was always my focus before. Was like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it to 100% of my ability, and I'm going to do everything I can to raise that ability, right? Sure. And now I kind of think to myself, and I don't know, maybe this is like loser mentality, I don't know, but like I'm just like, listen, if I'm doing something and it's something that I enjoy, then there's so much value in that, and and if it brings me happiness, that's what I care about.
That's realist mentality. That's what that is.
I mean,
I don't think
I don't, it's not that I'm going to half-ass something, because I don't.
Right.
But
No.
if I'm going to, I also know that in order to be the absolute best at whatever it is, you have to live, eat, breathe it.
right.
And that's just not realistic for me. But I can be okay doing it 2 or 3 days a week.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And
It's
enjoying myself.
It's
doing
like
it.
before kids, we used to golf constantly.
Yeah.
So like, like you said, like your wife, my wife had the same type of schedule. So like you get out of work at 5 o'clock and you're like, wow, I have 5 hours to do nothing.
Yeah.
I'm like,
We used to
I'll
golf
just
like
go
every Monday night.
Every night. I'm like, all right. So I'm like, let's go golf, and then after we're done, we'll go grab some wings and pizza and beer.
Yeah.
And then I'll get home, and she still won't be there. And I'm like, then I get home,
That's
take a
how it
shower,
was
and I'm like, got the TV on, and I'm like, hey, babe,
We were living parallel lives.
yeah, exactly, man. It was like, so it's like, yeah, same thing with golf. Like, yeah, I'm never going to be a pro, but I get to do it every now and then.
Yeah.
Right.
And, that's
And you know
okay.
what? But I still have that time to go do that.
You know, and then in the beginning with having a newborn, like if I knew that I had that class to go to, the grappling, jiu-jitsu class, I would go no matter what. I'd get a babysitter, and now I kind of have some regret, because they're only little for so long.
yeah, it goes fast.
Right. But now, like I said, like I learned you don't have to go every night.
Right.
You got to balance. I learned balance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
balance.
And what's really great was, unfortunately, the academy that I came back to, my good friend, unfortunately had to close after COVID because not enough students came back to keep the lights on. And but we adjusted. We're still training. We're in an undisclosed location, a little underground action.
I like it.
Yeah.
What's the first rule?
I can't talk about it.
Attaboy.
So the good thing was the core group of guys and girls came back,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my kids would come with me because they're old
Yeah.
enough now where they'd sit
Right.
and watch. And that was my son. He's really it's tough for him to go to new places because sometimes he'll freak out about it. But loved going.
Yeah.
I'd bring I would just be super prepared. We'd hit Dollar General first.
Yeah.
Get coloring books, activity books,
Yeah.
whatever.
Keep 'em busy.
Markers, keep them busy. My daughter would come and after class at home, she'd want to learn a couple things. I teach her
Yeah.
some stuff, and they loved it. Every Saturday they'd come.
That's awesome.
And when my wife was working Sundays, they'd come with me at open mats, and they'd chill out and do my thing. They'd come out, and then I'd always try to wrap in a treat.
Yeah.
When it was on Saturdays, we'd go hit up Red Robin after, or Chick-fil-A or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it was Sundays, we'd go
Make something exciting for him. There's a reward for
It was for
dealing with
right.
it.
Yeah. Right. And even during that time, they wouldn't have screens because there was no Wi-Fi.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was a really good bonding thing. And even my son would be like, "I want to go to jiu-jitsu?" What? I'm like, "No, buddy, the school's closed." Oh,
Yeah, so you made it fun, though.
He made it he really enjoyed it. So it was great. Including them.
Yeah,
Well, I
for
think
sure.
that's a really good point, though, is that you can do activities that you're not hovering over them, right? Like you can go and do stuff it could be as simple as grocery shopping. You know what I mean? It's something that you have to do, and would it be easier to do it if you either had a babysitter or your wife's got the kids or whatever? Yes,
sure,
you
it
could
would
get
be.
it done in a half hour, but you can
Include
do
'em.
something and make it fun and do something that needs to get done or you want to get done, whatever it is, and still be a dad about it. You know what I mean? They don't have to. You don't have to be
hovering over
them.
Yeah.
The other day we went and did a run, and so my wife wanted to run too, and I was like, all right, well, let's go. It's going to be a lot longer, but let's go. I'll walk with the kids while you run, and then when you circle around and catch up to us, then I'll go run. And that actually worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
And I don't know why we didn't think about this earlier, because we're always like, all right, well, you got to go yesterday, so I'm
I'll
going to go
go.
today.
It's my turn, yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's only so many hours in the day, right?
sure.
But again, it's just finding ways to do it, and so we're playing tag and stuff like that. So
Make it
I
fun.
was tired by the time I went on my run.
Right.
But you make it fun. I
Yeah.
still remember when I was little. So my dad would work Saturdays a lot. He would always go into the office. So what he would do is he would take my brothers and I to the office with him. But he'd set us up, and he'd be like, "All right, here's the whiteboard, and here's all this stuff," and we would just fuck around in the office. We just sit there with the staplers, the printers, we just messing around the whole time. But we had a blast doing it. We actually looked forward to going to the office with my dad. We thought that was the
'cause
coolest thing in the
it's
world.
Cool. Yeah.
And he would get his work done, and we would just mess around the whole time.
I actually do that quite a bit with Gibbs.
But you find he's like, "Here, grab this keyboard," and we're playing with the keyboards and we're doing all this stuff. And I mean, it was a blast. We used to love doing that. But he made it fun for us. So that's the same type of thing with your kids, getting them included in it.
Yep.
Is a great way to do it, man. That's a dad hack in itself.
It is 100%. I mean, I do that with the kids. We do a lot of the maintenance stuff on the centers. On
Yeah.
the weekends, obviously, when it's closed.
Sure.
And, if I have a project that I got to do or it's got to get done, a lot of times I'll take them with me, and there's playground there and everything, so they love it. And they're like, "Oh, we get to go to the daycare. Our friend's gonna be there."
Make it
No
exciting.
friends there. But he's like, "Well, can we go in the other rooms?" I'm like, "Yeah, you can go in any room you want."
It's gonna be amazing.
Cool. They're
It's a free for all.
"Woohoo!"
This whole place
Yeah.
to yourself.
Right.
And I got some mats for my basement, so I hope the kids could get involved. For my son, I have to approach it differently. I haven't found that way in yet to get him to, because he has he has sensory processing issues. So he wouldn't be like okay with just like smothering him.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Or my daughter's like, come on.
Yeah, bring it.
Come on, bitch. Like,
Yeah.
her saying that, not me.
Right.
Let's get this straight first.
Yeah, let me for the mass listeners at home, she would call me.
You get over here. We're grappling right now.
Right. So like when it's all, we have some remodeling to do in the basement, but we're gonna lay out the mats and stuff. So like, that's what I hope to include them in. Because
Yeah,
very
for sure.
cool.
My 2 rules, I'll expose them whatever activities they want to learn, but the 2 that they don't have a choice is swim lessons and some kind of martial art.
I love that.
Those are my 2.
I really want to get my kids into jiu-jitsu. There's a father-son one in Willoughby. Yeah. And pre-COVID,
Yeah.
I was checking out some places to do that because I wanted to take Sam
We
with
talked
me.
about
we
it.
had talked
Yeah.
about doing
Yeah.
that. And so I found this one in Willoughby. And I was like, oh, yeah, I want to do this. Sure enough, COVID hits. And
Shut
then
everything
kind of then I started thinking about it again recently.
That would be fun to do, like a father-son class.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. I think
Or
that
father-kid class, whatever.
father-kid class.
Yeah.
I think that would be more fun for them because they'd be like, okay, they're not.
Partnering with someone they don't know.
Yeah, exactly. So it's more comfortable for them. And then eventually, you hand them off and they do their own thing. But
Well, I think it's a good introduction, not only for you or for your kid, but for you too. Because like I don't
Absolutely.
know anything about it.
I don't
Like,
know shit, but
I've
I've always
thought it was cool, and
that's something that I always thought was amazing. I think that's a very, just like we said, like same thing with martial arts. Like we did the karate thing. They were like 2.
they were way too little.
And
I shouldn't say they were too little. I think it was good to get them exposed
sure.
to doing something.
But I think it's a good thing for them to get involved in because it's a good way for discipline and just finding out how to manage anger, like, put it in the right places and everything like that.
Confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge. And I think like for my
and
son,
understanding
Sam,
their body too.
yeah, absolutely. Like I think, and then for Sam too, I think it's very important for him. I want to get him involved in it so bad because I feel like his confidence isn't there.
Yeah.
And that might be something that maybe it's my fault. I don't know. But like I just feel like I want to boost his confidence. Like he's just so, I think that would be such a good thing for him. So I really want to get him involved in that. That's definitely a goal of mine.
I mean, I could make a whole podcast about grappling itself.
You should.
That's
Start it.
That's what
We'll
I love.
help you.
That's what I love about. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's what I love about is like you could drill a move 1,000 times because there's no like Krav Maga like where someone's gonna like grab them in the nuts and then poke them in the eyeball.
Yeah.
Right.
There's none of that. Like how many? You're not gonna have very many students and training partners if you're
Yeah.
with the
Yeah,
same hand
right.
grabbing them in the nuts and putting their
Right.
well, that was supposed to be a joke.
I got you.
I read it.
But if you armbar someone, you could drill it a million until you're so exhausted you can't do it anymore. And that's what's so great about because that muscle memory sticks. And even with my daughter, I taught her at like 4 or 5 an armbar, and she still remembers like the hip motion. And then just a couple of weeks ago, I taught her I'm not a boxer, and I don't like know. I know enough awareness about it, but like I taught her like a little 1-2 punch, and she just loves it. Like she walks around like, come on, boom,
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
and she'll punch me in the arm, in the back, and so.
I think it's so important. I mean, I think that's one thing that I would, again, I remember pre-COVID, we were talking about getting back into it because our boys are like really close to the same age.
Nice.
So Sammy's a little bit younger, but he's also bigger than my son. Okay. So like they've always played together and they've literally grown up together. Yeah. So getting them into activities together has always been nice because it gives us an excuse. We get to see each
we get
other
to hang out.
And,
And the thing is too, it makes when he's with Gibson, with Ian's son, so it makes it easier for him to do things because he feels more comfortable. He knows Gibson, so it's like, okay, he's doing it. He wants to do what he's doing. He thinks it's cool.
He's a wild man out over in ninja class.
Sam,
yeah,
he loves it, man. He's so excited about there's like this gymnastics gym. It's like it's in Menor, and both of our kids. Well, Sloan does it too. She does gymnastics. We set Ben up tomorrow. Yeah. So I forgot. Thank you.
I know your schedule.
He knows my schedule better than I do. That's tomorrow then. Okay, thanks. Ian, what time is it at?
10:30.
Okay. So but for Sam, it's like it's nice because Gibson he feels comfortable with. So it's like it's nice. He eases into it a lot easier. And
if you ever
he feels a lot more comfortable.
I feel like if you ever want to get a child to do something, like have friends involved.
Yeah,
100%. Absolutely.
His son's like is amazing though. Like you could send him with random people and he'll be fine.
So
That's
weird.
how my daughter
It's terrifying to me. I mean, I love it. I love that he's super assertive and will go out of his way to annoy somebody. Like that's how I look at it sometimes.
It's
But
a great thing.
and it's really good. But then sometimes I'm like, all right, well, this is definitely the kid that like when the van comes up for
That's
candy,
Ben.
like he's going. Like
That's Ben,
like
man.
there is no doubt in my mind. But he's also the kid that the van will circle back around, and be
Drop
like,
him off.
take this kid back.
Yeah, but
Like that's like Ben,
I mean,
man.
I
Like
joke, that's not funny,
No,
but-
but like I was at my niece's birthday party. It was my brother and my sister-in-law did a drive-by birthday party, so
Oh,
he's
yeah.
drive-by. But we hung out for a little bit. We stopped in, and Ben's hanging out with a bunch of the neighbors' kids that he doesn't even know, and like their parents. They're sitting in the front yard, and I go to move my car out of the way, and he goes. He's hanging out with people he doesn't know, and he's like, "Bye, Dad. See ya." I'm like, "Okay." Well, he doesn't care. He just no. I threaten that all the time too, where I'm like, "All right, buddy, I'm just gonna leave you here." He goes, "Okay, see ya. Bye, Dad." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, well."
yeah,
He'll be the first one to hop in a car too. I'm like, "Dude, I got to teach him ASAP."
Yeah.
Like earlier,
Stranger danger, man.
like earlier in the conversation, we talked about, like I said, my daughter's fears.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think she's like that's the best type because, like my son, he's gonna probably have a lot of adult like facilitation.
Mhm.
I don't want to say chaperone, but so I know though, like if she's just with him, like if some kids try to fuck with them, she's gonna give him the business. You know, like,
Yeah.
at
Oh,
minimum,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
At minimum, like tell the kid to go, go fuck himself.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I'm not expecting her to like throw down and fight.
Sure.
but
But she's gonna have his back, and
right,
yeah,
and she has that attitude, like that protective, like forceful, like fierce.
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fierce. Yeah. Exactly.
and that's a great thing.
That's why she's like the best sibling. Like there's this like cliche, like I saw like on a meme, like if you ever want to see the right way to treat I'm gonna mess this up, but a right way to treat a child with special needs, see how their siblings treat them, because it's like
that makes sense.
that's so true. Because like my daughter sees him as a normal,
her
just
brother.
That's her brother.
Yeah.
That's what she's grown up with. Yeah.
Right. He didn't talk to who was 4, and so she knows that he goes to speech therapy. She knows that he does OT. She knows that he has helpers at school, and he knows that mom and dad like helped him a long time getting dressed. He does it now, but like things like that. And like I remember, like my wife was saying, like Rocco doesn't have all the word, or I forgot how she worded it, and Raylan's just like, "Oh, mom, he just talks a little different." I'm like,
It's amazing.
yeah,
How good are kids?
Kids are the most amazing thing.
Here I'm thinking
ever,
of
man.
like neurological shit, and
Right,
biological
yeah.
shit,
right.
You know, and she's
But
like,
the-
he just talks a little different.
And she puts that perfectly too, and then you're like, she's absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Right.
There's nothing more to it.
You
And
know-
that's how she sees it, and that's how everybody should view it.
And like if just I'm probably gonna go into a deep end here, guys. So
Let's
you know,
do it.
All right. So like this is like part of the like when I found out about like being on here, like this is the thing. Like if I could give back to any dads, it's like having a child with special needs. Is like so when he was born, everything was typical. 6 pounds, 7 pounds, whatever. Start hitting milestones, and then when they're at that age where they're sitting up, then they're pulling up, and then they're like kind of like going gaga, woo woo, all that kind of things.
Right.
None of that was happening. And then the milestone that he was late on was walking. But my wife was late to walk too. But we're talking like, I think he was like 15 or 18 months not walking yet. So then he wasn't talking. He wasn't saying those like little words.
Yeah.
Mommy, daddy, doggy, stuff
Right.
like that. So we got Help Me Grow. So
Wonderful organization.
Very wonderful.
We work with them so much.
Wonderful people. However, we were late to the party. So he aged out of that quickly.
Yeah.
So the pediatrician told us, like, all right, if they say anything that can be neurologically wrong or they observe something, let me know and I'll step in.
Yeah.
So he was about to finish that program, and we got some feedback, and we're like, no, you're wrong. We didn't call him out on it, but we were super defensive.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
And,
Absolutely.
I'm like, no, he's just slow to talk. Like it's, and like we start ruling everything out, like hearing. His adenoids came out, the tonsils came out, like all that kind of stuff, because it needed to come out anyways. But he still wasn't talking. And now we're at 3. He wasn't potty trained yet. So he went to a intervention preschool where you don't have to be potty trained to go. And actually that year, like he really developed. He got out of the pull-ups, potty trained, all good. Starting to use more words, but the words he was using was like, do you guys remember like Daniel Tiger and like Super Y?
Yeah.
And all those
Live
kind of
Daniel Tiger.
Okay, so everything's a song. When he started developing words, he would like respond if you asked him a question like, "How was your pizza?" if he either wouldn't respond or he would give you like a rehearsal, a reciting of a show
Okay.
or a song.
Okay.
And how they explained that to us was that's his way of like matching the situation with what he knows.
Okay.
Because he didn't have the words to like say, yeah, my pizza is really awesome. You know,
Right.
I love Pizza Hut, or
Right,
but
right.
at the time, so we were dealing with that a lot, and then we finally, the pediatrician's like, yeah, I think you guys, there's some traits that we think we should get, and I'm like, kind of condensing the story. So when we got the diagnosis, I was like, you're wrong, but. Not even like I was so mean to this. This lady was like my age, the doctor, and I'm thinking like, lots riding on this. This was like the pre-evaluation. I go, lots riding on this evaluation, and how are you gonna get it right? She goes, well, I could have a colleague in there with me, and blah blah blah. I'm like, all right, I could live with that.
Right.
Sure enough, he was diagnosed with autism, and like I remember that day. It was cold. It was February. I was sick myself, and going home, like I was terrified. I was terrified. I'm like, here's all my plans as being a dad, having a son first, or like fucked,
Yeah.
And I thought at that point I didn't know shit about autism or
Right.
anything
Yeah.
or special needs, and I knew what like kids with Down syndrome, and I knew what those traits were like, and so I was like thinking like everyone knows of autism as like Rain Man,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know? And,
Yep.
and I would not say that word for the longest time, and I thought.
Say autism?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that word. I was just like afraid to.
Yeah.
And I didn't want I didn't want him to be identified with it. I didn't want him to be labeled.
Labeled.
I didn't want him to be like, people write him off right away.
Yeah.
Or the flip side, treat him differently.
Yes.
I
Right.
wanted him to be a typical.
Crutch, yeah.
I wanted you to meet him first.
Yep.
Period. And so he's come such a long way from like 3 years old, and he still struggles with words. Like he doesn't. Again, if you ask him a question, like a direct question, even if it's not, you have to say like, do you like your lunch? Yes, or like your lunch? No. That's how you,
Okay.
Or do you want to wear the red shirt? Yes, or red shirt? No. And then that's how he'll respond.
Okay.
Like, and we went through all this shit, like old. I have an old school family. Like, oh, he has to learn to go to a restaurant. It's like. It's not that easy. Like we can't just go to Texas Roadhouse for a party and expect him not to freak the fuck out. You know, like it's not like we don't have that luxury anymore. There's a lot of prep work. There's a lot of like talking him up into it. But like I mentioned that we go to Red Robin after.
Yeah.
For some reason, Red Robin was on his green list.
Yeah.
Like
That's comfort zone.
Great.
I'm good. Let's
Yeah.
go. But we on the flip side of that, if we get McDonald's, it has to be taken home. Like it was Father's Day weekend, and that was a Saturday. And I wanted to take them to the park. I wanted to just get out. I took the ticket. My daughter was so pumped. DEFCON 4 meltdown.
Yeah.
In the middle park. And that was just this past summer. So those meltdowns like happen a lot, and not or they happen.
They happen, right.
But that's like the one thing I learned from all this is one, being in public, not being embarrassed. Because meltdowns. I've had to carry them out of the stores, like or my wife had to, or whatever, like numerous times. And it's like I learned not to even blink an eye at some asshole staring at me.
Right.
And or people making a stupid comment like "get your kid in check" or something like that. Like, they don't no clue what we deal with.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I'm not looking for a pity party.
No.
He's thriving and he's developing, and he was just late to the party. And I know in my heart that one day he's gonna boom and like
For sure.
start being articulate and using words. Because a lot of times at the end of the day, he's just a 9-year-old boy who wants to be a little bit of a prick sometimes. You know what I mean?
That's what it is,
Right,
man.
right.
Yeah, for sure.
But we have some sensory issues. We have some occupational issues that we deal with. And but the one thing I want to know, let people know, it's like, not that I'm not one of those people that would go, there's people on Facebook, they're like, oh, my child's got this, and that. And it's like, look at all this attention.
Right.
Put their little profile pictures of like,
Yeah.
whatever awareness of the day is.
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm not like that. I didn't want that broadcasted. I'll share some good stuff. Like if there's really good, like around Halloween, it comes out. Like if a child doesn't speak to you at the door, it doesn't mean they're rude.
Right,
It can
right,
mean,
right.
It can mean a million other things. Those
sure.
kind of things.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
don't try to be preachy. I just try to like a little quick share, and I move on with my life.
Yeah.
But it's like also, we have a good school system, but you really got to be like, I know every parent's like their advocate for their kids, but with like special needs, you got to be like super advocate because no one's going to give you anything.
No.
No one's going to give you extra resources. No one's going to give you extra services because it all costs money for the district. And we pay for a lot of stuff out of pocket, which whatever, you know. But there's been a lot of things like we talked about earlier about having friends, and you're talking about your son with a partner at the school. We always said that. We're like, we don't care if he gets good grades. We care if he has friends. You know, we want him to have friends. Yeah. And unfortunately, he still doesn't really have any friends. And he starts asking, like, because he sees my daughter on FaceTime with a different girl, like every other day, and he's like, I want a friend, and you know, and like, so hopefully that's the plan where like he'll meet somebody where they have like similar interests,
right?
Or they know they don't mind his shortcut, you know, because like he plays independently. He loves other people. He loves adults, and he's so respectful and polite. But he just plays independently. Yeah, you know, like if we took him to like a birthday party, he may just want to sit in a corner and play with whatever. But hopefully, like we, you know, with after COVID goes away,
right,
when people start opening up and he could find some buddies or
for sure
and stuff like that. So that's like the
I think it's and again, disclaimer, I'm no expert, but I know a little bit about kids. I think at this point, and I think it's really healthy that you don't force social norms or whatever. Like you guys recognize that, you know, sometimes he's going to play on his own, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to, you know, I guess when we've talked with parents, you know, one of our jobs as early childhood educators is to go through milestones and things like that, because that's what we do, right? We're I mean, starting at 6 weeks, we make sure that we're doing the best that we can for every child that's in our building. And so a lot of times we have to have the conversation with parents like, hey, so-and-so is a little bit behind on this. And typically we get the super defensive, like, well, you're just not doing it right. Like he likes to do it like this, or she,
do you know?
What do you know? You're a babysitter. And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. I'm just telling you what were our diagnose or our we never say diagnosis because we don't diagose. But what our observations are, and here's some resources that we have. We work very closely with, and it's always a really hard conversation, right? Because nobody ever wants to hear that, right?
Well, and that's the tough thing too, is recognizing it as a parent. Like somebody could tell you, but like in order to take the steps and move forward with it, like you have to recognize what the situation might be. And that's the tough part, is like a lot of times, like you said, there's a lot of parents that are in denial, and like you don't want to hear that.
Well, and then it's denial, and then it's treating it as a problem that has a solution versus a diagnosis that has, what did we say? Not a solution, but steps to take to improve the situation, right? Like it's not a problem. It's just something different, right? And so like we have to adjust our lives, and we have to adjust how we go about certain activities in order to help that child do the best that they can
with the tools available.
Right? Like,
and that's the thing though, is there's so many things out there for any situation.
Right.
Like we talked to somebody before, their son had a lot of anxiety issues, and they said like recognizing it and finding, and, you know, just going and getting it taken care of. Like if there's any type of doubt in your mind or any thought, you know, just check it out. See, like same thing with Ben. He's, you know, the first 2 months of his life where he was basically in a coma. So they told us like he's going to be slower to develop. Like we knew that. And they keep a close eye on him. So we've always had someone telling us what we should be doing. So, I mean, not everybody has that though. And like your kid's not always being watched by people. Like we had like his cardiologist and like all the people from Rainbows that were always keeping a close eye on him. So they're like, okay, he's going to need to do speech therapy. He's going to need to do
OT or whatever.
Yeah. So he had like, one of the main things he had was he didn't swallow properly. So like every time he would drink any fluid, he would aspirate. So we had to put thickener in his water, which recently he just graduated from. He could actually officially drink fluids without his thickener, which is awesome. A huge milestone for him. But right now he doesn't talk much. Like he just kind of makes noises and like he says words. Like he just picks and chooses what he wants to do. But he's in speech therapy, and we had to send him to a special school for it, and that's kind of what we're doing. But we knew that that's something we had to do for him.
Right.
Can't hold off.
And I'm not gonna lie, like when we found out, like the stages of grieving, there's like denial, anger,
Right.
something. I'm gonna.
Yeah, I don't remember what they all are, but
I went through those cycles where I didn't really deny it, but it was just like, why? I don't like to play victim ever. I don't like to play victim at work. I don't like to play victim in life, whatever. But you go through that, like, autism. This makes me sound nasty, but it is a thief. It does take stuff away from you, as because there's those little things where we just can't do. We can't just go to an Indians game. We can't send them for a sleepover. We can't just at the moment's notice change plans, because shit will hit the fan.
Right.
And it's like, we got to pick our head. Are we willing to absorb some huge meltdown because he expected to get A and we threw C at him? It's that's the tough part.
Yeah,
I can imagine. I mean,
and like the thing also I learned, and people out there that are listening maybe going through this too, it's like, appreciate the little victories. Like just the other day, like last month or so this summer, he used a fork. 8 years old, finally using a fork. There's kids that are like 15 months old using forks.
Sure.
He finally, I don't know if it was the fine motor skills of grabbing the fork, using it and putting it in his mouth, or he didn't like that metal, something metal, because he also has like food aversions where if for some reason, if dressing and salads on the table, he will not come to the table till we're done eating, then he'll finish eating. So it's like, but we learned that those are his traits. We figure it out.
and it's harder to figure it out because
It's a lot of trial and error.
the being nonverbal for so long, or not being able to articulate what his thoughts are,
Right.
like that's got to make it even harder. That's a harder job for you guys as parents to figure out what those aversions are.
Yeah, so you really have to
what
identify
the,
that stuff.
what the triggers are, things like that.
And he's just, I don't know if it's again like about being an 8-year-old or 9-year-old boy, like, but now he's using more physical nonverbals. And sometimes it could be like, because he's stimming harder now, and it could transfer to, like, it's always on me, luckily, not my daughter. Or sometimes my daughter will intervene, but like, he'll come at me, and like, I don't know if he's stimming on me, but it's like, he's, for a normal, like a outsider watching, they think, oh, this kid's punching his dad, but it's not really like a,
Right.
it's more of like a kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's getting a sensory from it, but it's like throwing a meltdown. So you have the meltdown,
Gotcha.
and then you have the physical aspect. So again, like, I know this is, like, I've talked to some people that their kids are like 16, 17, 18. They're like, oh, I don't even remember the last time we've had a meltdown after like the 9-10 mark.
Yeah.
So I know there's hope, but like, you got to figure it out and see how to respond. And I don't want to be one of those parents that are just like, oh, dope up my kid, because we're not, like, that's
Right.
I know that's a tool, and maybe that might be a tool down the road, but right now we're trying everything we can, like through OT, through speech. Like, we really want to get him in music therapy, because even though he doesn't use words to like talk, if he'll learn a song listening to it once, and he sings it like beautifully.
Well, I mean, you mentioned that earlier with like communicating versus like with the Daniel Tiger song or something like that.
Right.
Like, that clearly is something
that's his
that
thing, is
connects,
music, yeah.
right? Like,
So I think after this, and back to like, you get boom autism, and it's an umbrella term,
right.
and it could be. I don't even think they're using Asperger's as much anymore. I don't know that could be wrong, but like, say you have social communication issues, or you have sensory processing issues, they may just lump you into being autistic.
Right.
That's what it seems like. But then it's like,
Well, in the field's like, or that field of study is still relatively new.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't that long ago that like that was even a diagnosis.
right.
So
Growing up, I didn't know any kids that were
No, you-
labeled that way.
No.
It was just
But
like,
you didn't. I mean, it was there, but you probably just didn't know it.
yeah, they'd go to a special room
They
and
go
get
to- yeah,
AIDS
exactly.
or something
Yep.
like that. But with like, back to like my mentality, it's like, I always like to prioritize and execute and compartmentalize, so like, we know that he needs help with speech. So like, you get this big umbrella of like the nasty word, you know what I mean? I shouldn't say nasty word, but it's like,
I get it.
you get, and then there's all these little like pieces, and you're like, all right, well, he needs help with speech. So now and we had him at one time in OT and speech, and like whatever we could afford, we would do it. So maybe it was 6 weeks of OT, then it was maybe 6 weeks of speech. But then we're like, no, we need to put all our eggs in the speeches basket. So that's how we were like, I shrunk the big problem and focused on like, I shouldn't say my wife and I, we like, that's how we hammered it out. Is
Yeah.
Right.
Like, all right, we know his shortcoming. We know where his delays are. This is what we need to.
Yeah, what can we help with right now that makes a lot of sense,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Like,
Yeah, we knew-
again, with the tools that you have available.
Well,
to you.
like there's so many different things, like you said. So focus on one thing at a time.
Well, because that would just be so overwhelming.
Right.
I would imagine.
As a parent and for
Yeah.
the child, that's a lot.
Right.
And like
That's a good point.
We tried, so I called them social survival skills.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hi Ian, my name is Pete. How are you? Like those kind of like.
Right.
We worked so hard on all that back and forth. But like he'll go to a playground and he'll like another kid will come to him and like want to. Maybe they want to play, or maybe they have some kind of like engagement, like eyeballing each other. Like, oh, yeah, you look around my age.
Yeah,
Right.
Let's go run around or
Let's go throw
something.
rocks at that guy's truck. But and then he'll just spot out something that he watched on YouTube, and the kid looks at him like, and then runs away.
Yeah.
So it's kind of sad because like other kids don't really know. We spend so much time teaching them how to interact with other children. I don't think other children learn how to interact with.
That's very true.
Probably really true.
I don't know. I don't have facts to back that up or anything. But like,
No,
No.
but I mean, think about it. I mean, we just kind of talked about earlier about how kids and adults are very similar in that, like, you ask them a question and how do I answer, whether it's how are you at school or how are you at work? Like, we really, neither of us want to answer that question, but for some reason we get pissed off when our kid doesn't answer, even though 20 minutes later you're going to answer the same way. But you're probably right. Like, it is hard enough for most adults to understand and or empathize with a situation that they know nothing about.
Right.
So how in the world can you expect kids to do that if they're not exposed to it
Right.
and they're not being taught that,
And
right?
then you have people, adults, so it'll be like, oh, he has to learn how to sit in a restaurant. Like,
Have at it.
Yeah. Here you go. I will take off. I will sit at the
Yeah.
bar.
You go ahead and
right.
teach them since you're such a pro in there. It's like, I mean,
most
it's
of the
like,
time, his assholes don't even have kids.
yeah,
Right,
exactly. It's
right,
like, you're going
right.
to tell me, okay, that's funny.
Right.
Well, and that's what I meant about, like, understanding instead of, like, like you said, old school family, I remember, like, that's probably how my dad would have tried to handle something, or he would have been that guy that said, well, he's got to learn,
Oh, he's not listening.
But, right. But again, he didn't have that experience. And to be fair, that guy that probably says that probably doesn't have that experience, because if you did, you would never say something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, understanding what you can and can't do. And that's not, I think you're right. That's probably kind of thievery. But at the same time, you know how to pick your battles. And it's, I'm sure you didn't figure it out right away. And it's taken you some time to figure it out. But at the end of the day, you're doing what you guys deem is best for him,
Right.
and for you. I mean, because that has a lot to do with it too.
And we feel bad too because he gets so much of our attention that we want to make sure that our daughter feels like she's involved. Because say we have a plan. I'm gonna make this up. Like, say we have a plan to go eat at I don't know, a pizzeria. I can't even think of one right now. But
Sure.
like whatever. And he's like, and my daughter will be like, "Oh, I love that place. I can't wait to get their breadsticks or whatever." And
Yeah.
she's so jacked to go. And then he finds out, and then he's like, he's not game for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And he'll lose his shit. And she has to miss out on it sometimes.
Right.
But then there's been plenty of times, I mean, more times than I could count, where we drove separately to somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So if shit hit the fan, one of us would take him home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or he would stay home with one of us, or we divide and conquer.
Yeah.
Or we just, my daughter always liked eating out. I do too.
Yeah.
But we say sometimes we just get takeout.
Right.
Because we're not going to, it's for whatever reason, he was not cool with, and I'm simplifying all that, but like,
Right. No, I get it. Yeah.
he was not down with going wherever we
So-
decided to go that day.
So one of my, I don't know if it was one of my dad hacks or if we heard it before. We'll kind of transition into a dad hack segment, but even though we've had a couple already,
Yeah.
I think that one of my suggestions. Oh, I think we were talking about it on a quickie actually, because it's once you have the second kid is like, I don't care if they're whatever. If you can spend some time with one kid, whether it's 2-on-1 or 1-on-1, like so, like my wife and I will try and do like dates with our kids,
So do we.
and so that
Yeah,
way
split it up.
because that is a big worry. Like I remember worrying about my son when my daughter was born.
Yeah.
Because it was like, well, she's a baby, she's going to get all the attention.
Girls get all the cool
yeah,
stuff.
girl, yeah, right, exactly. And I didn't want that to happen, so we made sure that we like, all right, so Saturday morning
Make
is
that
Gibson's
special
morning.
time.
You know, we're going to go do. What do you want to do? Like, let's go do this. Let's go do that. Whatever. But I think that's really important to do, no matter what your dynamic is. And so maybe that would, you know, I mean, it sounds like you guys do that already.
Yeah.
But
And it sounns like your daughter's pretty amazing. Where she's sounds like
she's fierce.
She's fierce.
Yeah.
But she seems like she's, you know, I don't know how to put the right word with it, but like I don't want to say adapted, but like seems like from what you said, like she's understanding of everything.
It's her normal.
It's her normal. Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
when you say like you feel bad, like not giving her that type of attention or something like that, it sounds like she is okay.
Right. And
You know
she
what I mean?
tags along for all the speech therapies because you can't just drop off your child and leave.
Right.
And she wants to be with her brother, and like that's a sibling thing too, which is so amazing.
Yeah.
Did you have siblings growing up?
Yeah, one of each.
Okay, so and you as well. So it's like having a sibling is like the best thing ever. And no matter what, like I was the youngest of 3, and my brother Mike was kind of like my son Sam. Like he's the quiet one, and he took he was always very reserved. So me, on the other hand, I was just an asshole. So if anybody fucked with my brother, like they're gonna hear it from me. Like I'm not gonna hold back. I will say some really shitty stuff to these people because they just mess with my brother.
Right. I'm the same. I was the same
So
way.
you know what I mean? Like I was very overprotective of my brothers, even though they always had my back no matter what. But like something about like
Yeah.
I always felt like I needed to back up
family,
my
right?
brother. Yeah,
Right.
it's my family.
My brother got picked on big time.
Yeah.
And I remember sometimes where we'd be together and I would like mouth off for him.
Yeah, that's why I would step in and be like, I would just go off on people.
Right.
Like, I mean, I probably said some terrible things to people, but you know what? You don't mess with my brother. That was
Yeah,
it, you know?
right.
So that's the best thing about siblings, though. I mean,
for
they
sure. You
always have
a
each other's
friend,
back.
yeah.
So,
You may be two different people completely, live two different lifestyles, but you always have each other.
yep.
Yeah,
That's the most
100%.
important thing. So,
Yeah.
that's what sounds like your daughter is like. She sounds like you said, she's fierce.
Yeah,
She's
I mean,
that's going to be her, man.
I mean,
never met her, but like
I-
that's what it sounds
I don't
like.
know what
I
the
mean, I
future.
think that's a
I don't know what
good.
the future holds. I mean, it's right now. If
Yeah.
things don't change, he would live with us forever. Right?
Mhm.
Well, until
Right.
the end. But so maybe she'd be the one that looked after him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I
don't
mean,
even
I
wanna
think,
think about that
I think
stuff.
that is so
No.
overwhelming to even. I mean, at least in my like from what I'm hearing, that just seems so overwhelming and final to me. Is like instead take it one day at a time, 1 month at a time, whatever, and again, kind of compartmentalize it, right? Like, 'cause, and I would imagine, and look, I have no experience with it, so it's hard for me to fathom, but I think that looking at the end game of something is so overwhelming to me. Like
It is,
I
and we
always
all
try,
we
like
always
you
do it
just said.
as any parent for anything. It's like you start looking at the future. You start thinking of way down the road, but it's like just step back and think about what's going on now. Worry about the now, and then whatever happens in the future,
Right.
it'll be fine. You'll
I
figure it
remember
out.
when I found out Chelsea was pregnant, I was like, oh my God, how the hell are we going to pay for college?
Oh, you should
It's like-
you should hear the stuff.
That's the most ridiculous
Yeah, I
thought
don't go that
ever.
far
But
away.
it-
Like, I
but
did
it-
though. I remember. I
I
was
remember-
like,
yeah.
college is like $170,000 now. Like,
You
what
want,
do you?
you want to hear an asshole comment that
Oh, I know.
that came out of my when
Yeah.
Sam was born, but no, when we found out about Ben, maybe it's how I handled it, just finding out about that. Okay, my son has a heart problem, and there's gonna be all kinds of issues.
Did you find that out before the
We found out at 20-week appointment.
Oh, okay.
So we knew something was wrong right away, and they sent us to UH. So in the elevator, Liz is bawling her eyes out, and I didn't help at all because I was pissed off, and I don't know, the right words didn't come out.
Sure.
And I go,
We've all been there.
and I'm like, the thing that I said was, how the hell are we going to pay for this? What the fuck was I like? Why? I wasn't thinking big picture of like
It's
our son's,
emotions,
you know what I mean?
man.
Like, my emotions were all over the place. I'm like, you don't know what the hell's going on. They just explained to us what was happening with his heart, but I didn't understand a fucking word they were
Right,
saying.
of
As soon
course. It's a
as soon
different
as they said
language.
there's something wrong and he's going to have open heart surgery as
Stop
soon as he's
listening.
born, I blacked out.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's a lot of anger. So yeah, instantly start thinking about that kind of stuff. They're like, how are
Right.
we going to pay for this? How are we going to do like, but that's not important. Who cares? And like Liz told me straight up, she goes, shut the fuck up. Literally in the elevator, there's like a woman and she's yelling at me. She goes, we'll figure it out. She goes, we always figure everything out
Right.
together. We'll figure it out.
The same
I'm like,
things
you know
come
what?
up in
You're
my
right.
mind. You know, I
You
don't
know-
know if I probably blurted it out before.
Yeah,
'cause
it's,
I've-
you say stupid shit.
Right.
We're all guilty
and-
of it. It
mhm.
happens.
And it's just out of raw emotion.
Exactly.
It
And
is.
you can't
It's
help
raw
yourself.
emotion, and it's it's taking the limited information that you have and immediately going to that end
And
game.
if you're a planner by nature,
Yeah.
and then someone throws you, you have to pivot hard. You're like, well, fuck.
Yeah, like there's that curveball. Like now I got to figure this out, and it's like instantly.
Yeah, then you start
End of the
attaching.
world.
Then sometimes, like in the back of your mind, like a program spinning where you're attaching dollar signs to
Yep.
things.
Yeah.
And sometimes that shoots right out of your
Yeah,
mouth.
it's just diarrhea of the mouth. It just happens.
Then
Yeah.
your wife punches you in the face.
Yep, you're
Well,
like,
I think as
you're
men
right. Sorry,
too, though.
sorry,
Like,
babe.
I mean,
I'll sleep on the couch for the
Yeah,
next
I got
month.
this. I messed up. I know.
but I mean, as men, I mean, I think especially before you have kids, or like it sounds like all of us got married and then had kids, like
Yeah,
right
that's
away.
how- that's
You know
our
what I mean?
plan,
Like
yeah.
pretty
Yeah,
pretty
it's pretty-
quickly
yeah.
after. Like I didn't have enough I mean, my wife and I were together for I don't know.
Get this right. She doesn't
6
listen.
or
You're fine.
7 years before we had
dating,
kids,
yeah.
I guess. Maybe dating and married and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah, it's a solid amount of time.
I would almost imagine that that's not even enough time to really understand how to do something as epic as having a kid. Right? Like
No.
it's crazy.
You're like, let's do this.
And there's people that like they just meet, they have a kid, and they're like, oh well, all right, let's do it. And that works out too. You know,
Right.
it just depends on who you guys are, and I think that like you said, like you figure it out together and you understand. I don't know, just like
It's that in a marriage, you know, your spouse, like you as a team, and I figured this out after Ben's situation. He almost died several times, and it's like when you get through that together. And she says this to me all the time. She goes, when something comes up, she's like, together we could get through anything.
Yeah.
We've done this. We've been through hell. We could do this. We could figure it out. And it's like, you know what? You're right. As a marriage, it's a team.
Yeah.
You're gonna figure it out, right? Yeah. You're always you'll work it out. And that's
and like I think what I was trying to say before is, you know, it doesn't matter if you dated for however long
Yeah.
or just met and then you got married and had a kid, or had a kid and got married, or had a kid and stayed your state. It doesn't matter what mattered. But I think at the end of the day, we're as men, like, even if you know that, you know, you guys both work and this is what your situation's going to be, you still in the back of your mind think that I'm the provider for my family. Like,
Right.
and so I think that's why men are typically more focused on the financial
The money
aspect
thing,
of
yeah.
it, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
and I try and fight that really hard because, you know, we both provide and we split everything as much as we can, and we
Right.
just kind of figured out what works for us.
Yeah.
But like, that wasn't right away. You know
No.
what I mean?
Right.
It'd be
It-
lying.
it
I don't
takes-
know anybody that had the plan and just like,
Hey,
although
there are some
who
people.
was it? Was it Big E? Like how they had like the plan all set out and like, hey, great on
Good
them,
for
you know
you.
what I mean? You know what
I
I mean?
definitely didn't do that. But
Right.
Do you guys ever think, like, fundamentally as a dad's job description as being a protector, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I mean, well, I feel like it is part of the job.
absolute
description.
100%.
Right.
Like, you're
So-
going to be the first one to jump up and do something.
Right. So, like, metaphorically, like, it's your job to slay the dragon,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so when there's a unseen boogeyman or unseen problem or unseen dragon, they're like, okay, if like you have a problem where a toy breaks,
Mhm.
okay, you can fix it or replace it. Problem solved.
Right.
Your kid climbs up a tree, can't come down. You get a ladder and get him down.
Sure.
Problem solved. But when there's a problem like something neurological,
Mm-hmm.
you
You're helpless. You
you're
feel
help-
helpless.
You feel helpless.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know, in your situation, your son had a heart problem, and you feel helpless.
Yeah, it's absolute helplessness.
Yeah. It just so happens that you're not a heart surgeon. So like,
Yeah, so I have to. You
you
put you
skip
put this
that
in.
class, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. I wasn't paying attention that day.
Right.
you were hungover.
Yeah, you know, for me, like I can't be with my son 24/7, so it's like I can't walk him through a social situation where like let's go meet some new friends, or you know, or God forbid, like he gets picked on, or you know, like, that worries me more than anything. 'Cause
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Am I prepared to fight a 12-year-old?
Right.
You're like. It's tough to think about like those situations because you're like, how are you going to react to it?
Right.
And it's like it's such a helpless feeling.
It's a helpless feeling.
to not
Yeah.
be able to
Yeah, I'm-
protect them or be there for that situation. And it's like,
I struggle with that stuff all the time. Is I think, and again, I don't know if it's a man thing or if it's just a parental thing or human thing. I don't know what it is, but I don't like not being able to solve the problem.
Right.
Like it could be
that's a tough
mental thing. It could be a physical thing. Like,
Right.
now I work really hard to understand what my limitations are, and I'm okay with that, and I can solve it in a different way. Right. Like
Right.
something breaks on the car, like, unless it's a flat tire or something like that, like I'm probably not your guy.
Yeah.
I can solve that problem by going to somebody who is that guy.
Yeah.
Right.
And, doing what it takes
You know
to get
exactly
it
what I
done.
was trying to
Right.
say.
Yeah, exactly. But if you can't figure out what the problem is, you can't diagnose it yourself, and then you have no ability to make it any better, or you feel that way.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's why I think like the compartmentalizing is really smart, because if you can focus on something and learn as much as you can to further that situation along, then you can work on the next one.
And that was like the coming to Jesus moment for me, like metaphorically, is like, I remember telling my wife, I was like, look, we can't control, he was diagnosed with this.
Right.
We can't control, he has it. But we could control, I remember talking to her like vividly, like I go, but we can't control the resources and help that we do get him.
Yeah.
And that's what we can control, and that's what we should focus on.
Absolutely.
And that was like the start of like,
Getting in
The road, yeah.
getting on the path.
Yeah.
We'll sit in these IEP meetings, and we're fighting for every inch. And it's a good school district, don't get me wrong. There's some other things where I feel like the ball's been dropped and stuff, but and we fight those fights when that happens. But for kids with parents with kids, you got to be their advocate. You got to be willing to put the gloves on and
100%.
Absolutely.
and go and not stop until you get what you feel your child needs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, like I said in the beginning, you can't focus on that they're born a certain way, but you could focus on what help you could give them.
Right.
Absolutely.
'cause
That's
there's
100% true.
Because there's some parents where they won't accept it, and then they're 9 years old, 10 years old,
And they haven't
never
done anything
had-
for them.
and then you're just setting them up to be harder life going ahead.
Yeah. You got to get them that help that you can, when you can. I mean, it's there.
Right.
Like you said, you have to put the gloves on. You have to fight.
Yeah,
and make sure you get them.
Yeah, Amazon doesn't send someone to your house.
Yeah,
You gotta
exactly.
go
Right.
find it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You have to go and do it yourself,
Right.
and that's
Yeah.
because the help's there, but they're not going to come find you. You have to go get them, and that's
Right.
what it is. I mean, that's
And
and recognizing it is the most important thing. It's like you said, there's some people that don't do anything.
Well, and
Can
again,
you
I think
imagine
somebody
that?
told
Like that's
me,
It's probably the minority. I hope.
yeah. I would
it's the
hope so.
minority.
Yes,
But there's some ignorant people that you would think that more of like
they're like
they would go to bed.
somebody told me and I kind of mentioned it before, but instead of looking at it as a problem, because it's not like you're going to solve the diagnosis, right? That's not going to happen. But what
Right.
you can do is change the way that you look at it and get the best assistance to make each aspect a little bit better, right? And like
Right.
that's all you can do, right? And so somebody, I can't remember who it was now, but they were very like, well, it's not a problem. It's who that person is, who that child is, and here's what we do for him.
Sure.
You know
That's
what
a
I
great
mean?
way of putting it. Yeah.
absolutely. I think it was
But
Glenn.
I think getting with, I think you're right.
yeah, because he was
Like
telling us.
getting away from that, like, we think of a problem as something that can be solved.
Right, and that's
It's
how I
like,
was in
you're
the
not gonna
beginning.
solve it.
And that's how I was in the beginning. Like I would not speak about it. Like I would go to the autism speak walks at Jacobs Field, or it's not Jacobs Field.
It's
anymore,
always the
It's
Jake.
always the
Yeah,
Jake.
thank you.
I have the shirt.
sorry. Okay, so
City.
but I would not like post anything about it. Like,
Yeah.
even though like I was proud of support, but I wouldn't wear like the T-shirt. Like I was just like holding it all in.
Yeah.
And like I wouldn't even talk to about it with my brother. And like still now, like I'm open up to it more. He's like, I'm so happy you're sharing this stuff with me.
You should, yeah.
And I'm like, I know.
well,
but like,
well, here's what I say. You should if it helps you.
right.
For sure.
Like, honestly, fuck everyone else. Like, if it helps you and your family figure things out a little bit better or makes you feel better about figuring it out,
And I still haven't found the answer.
Great.
I still haven't found the answer of why I was always so afraid to talk about it. Like I don't know if I was.
I think that's a very human thing, though.
I
Like,
don't know if I was afraid like I was going to be judged or he was going to be judged or if like.
well, I think a lot of times
I don't
when
know
people
why.
are afraid, or I shouldn't say afraid, or hesitant to speak on something, it's because it makes it real. Like a lot of times we think that if
about
we
the denial part, you know.
if
what I
we
mean?
deny,
for
sure.
it's not really happening. It's something that I deal with. No one else knows about it, so it doesn't seem real,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yeah.
as soon as you make it real, now you're held accountable, right? Because now if you're going to advocate for things and if you're going to speak out on it and you're going to, I guess, be like transparent with it, then the people around you are now going to judge you on how you deal with it. Not necessarily judge him,
Right.
but you're now opening yourself up to, well, did you take him to his therapy this week?
Right.
Or, I saw that you skipped this or whatever. It's like, listen, I'm doing the fucking best I can.
And,
but you just got to be able to take that then.
Right. And the thing I mentioned about it being a thief is like, instead of taking him to batting practice or baseball practice, I'm taking him to speech therapy, or my wife, or someone is.
Right.
Instead of taking him to sleepover, we're taking him to some kind of, or he's
Yeah,
got
that's
to stay
rough.
home, and
Yeah, I feel for you.
process,
That's,
and like we mentioned about being problem solvers, like with my daughter, I think like, all right, I got to stay in shape because when that stupid 17-year-old comes to
You gotta be the badass dad standing in the doorway.
Yeah.
So it's like shows you like your priorities after. Like,
Yeah,
for
no,
certain
I get it.
children, you know what I
I
mean?
get it.
It's like my daughter is so beautiful too. It's like I'm thinking like, all right, who's the first guy that's gonna come over here?
Yeah.
He's gonna
Who's
have to-
this asshole's gonna show up at my house to pick up my daughter? It's like,
Luckily, she's fierce, so.
yeah, it sounds like she'll be able to hold her own.
Yeah, I guess so. When we get the mats laid out and everything, I'm gonna get her own gi, little pink one, and see, so she's motivated.
Hell yeah,
That's
man.
awesome.
I think that's important too for like, and I don't want to say for girls, but like, I mean, I think self-defense for any child is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's important. I think in getting your daughter involved in it, it'll be awesome. It'll make you feel better too as a dad. Be like, okay, I know she can hold her own.
Hold her own.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
She can protect herself.
It's designed for the smaller, weaker people.
Jiu-jitsu? Yeah.
Because you're using your hips, you're using leverage. I mean, I've seen guys 140 pounds whoop the shit out of guys like bigger than you.
Sure.
They get on their backs, strangle them, and triangle choke off their back.
Oh, it's
I've
crazy.
always been fascinated with jiu-jitsu. I don't know.
Me too. It's like it consumes my brain.
It's amazing.
I remember another Marine Corps story. I haven't talked about the military like ever on our show, but that we had this thing. It's called McMAP. I remember it's called Marine Corps Martial Arts Program, and it was developed by like some jiu-jitsu guys and some like Kempo guys, and they kind of like mixed it all, Aikido guys, and they like mixed it all together to have very basic stuff. And like I was awful at it. Like it was one of those things where you just had to do, and it was like, all right, whatever.
Check the box.
Yeah, right. And I would do it, and like you could tell the guys that had previous experience, and like it was always the jiu-jitsu guys, and it wasn't Aikido. What's the other one? I can't remember. It's a lot of like
Judo.
Maybe judo. Is that a lot of throws. Like throws and yeah.
That's how you win.
Those two guys, those two like disciplines, always just kicked ass whenever we'd have to like
no
spar
matter the size
or
of them.
grapple or whatever. Like,
Judo is like jiu-jitsu's meaner older brother.
okay,
You know what I mean? 'Cause,
Okay.
Like, even though like jiu-jitsu is more specific on the ground, like if you get hip tossed hard
that sucks.
by a dude who really knows his shit,
Yeah.
and he lays you flat
It's
on
so
your shoulder,
violent.
so violent.
It is so violent. Like you think like in the movies or whatever, you see like somebody like tossing you over, and it's like, all right, well that doesn't look
Just
that
jump up
bad.
and go back at him. Yeah.
Right.
Dude, when like you snap
and
and,
you-
like your body just like
when you hit the ground that hard,
because
like
it's
that-
using your own
If
your
you
own
ever-
body weight.
If you're ever bored, YouTube like judo, professional judo or Olympic judo
Yeah.
or whatever, and you watch these guys like throw some of their feet are all up in the air and they're
land straight on their back.
It's amazing
like,
the torque that a body can like
the
develop.
velocity too.
Yeah,
My God.
Oh
My
man.
God. I know, man. So it's really important stuff.
for
Yeah.
sure. All right. Do you want to do?
Well, we did some dad hacks already, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so we'll skip. We did the dad hacks, but
yeah.
there's an important segment of the show that
and we probably did a lot of these too, but we'll get an official one.
Okay.
I definitely love the proud dad moments segment that we do. So
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar or not, but we've done a lot of reflecting tonight. So I think that that's super important to reflect. And so proud dad moment could either be something that you're proud of one of your kids for, or also something that you're proud of yourself for. And I think that
we've even
you
thrown wives in
journaling
there
and
too.
yeah, and wives too. Yeah, like proud of your wife for doing. Like I just think that like being a dad and again we've talked a lot about self-awareness and self-reflection and things like that. But it's so important. And if you're able to do that and physically recall something that maybe you think is super small, but now you remember that and you can replicate the situation so that you get some more wins, like those little victories, right?
Yeah.
I think that's super important. I love to hear the proud dad moments, because then my hope is that you'll go home and think about those and try and do it again. And somebody that's listening is going to say, you know what, that happened to me last week.
Yeah.
That is pretty awesome. It's
pretty
I
amazing.
didn't think of it that way.
Well, first and foremost, I'm like super proud of my wife, for sure, 100%. Because without her, like I'd be
Good answer.
Right. Love you, Jen. If you're listening this far into it, without her, I'd be like stranded on an island like Tom Hanks on
Looking for Wilson.
Castaway. Thank you.
Yeah.
I got lost in Castaway all mixed up. Lost, same situation.
Yeah.
Spent most of my fatherhood being a lost. Anyways,
Right.
Same.
yeah. I don't know. Like, and I'm just proud of like the development of my son, and I'm proud of how we. But again, in my nature, I don't feel like enough is ever enough. Like I feel like I should sell everything I own and put all the money into therapies and have people at our house like constantly to make sure he's the best version of himself. But he's come such a long way, and I'm so like nothing's easy right now, and like I'm proud that we celebrate the little victories of him using a full sentence or using a fork. Thank you. Yeah. I'm proud of my daughter, how she just takes it in stride and kicks ass and so well adjusted, and self-aware and emotionally adjusted and stuff. And we forget that she is 6 because she acts like she's 26.
Yeah, right.
The 4 of us, I feel like, we could do anything together.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I think this entire however many hours we're into this.
Yeah.
Time went fast.
It does.
Sorry for keeping you guys.
Never a
This is
problem.
what
We can do
we
this.
do.
We can do this for
Yeah.
another 2
I mean,
hours
I
if you
love
want.
this.
I'm good.
This is the favorite part. My favorite part of my week.
I
Is
forgot that I was
getting
actually
to
having a conversation.
Yeah, right. Like
That's the best
fun.
thing about it, man. You get lost in it, and it's just so amazing.
But I think the whole time was really like maybe aside from like our college
bourbon.
and,
Our bourbon talk
drunk
for a while.
stories,
Yeah,
which was
yeah.
fun. But most of what you talked about tonight was like one giant proud dad moment, which is
sure.
really,
Cool.
really
Thank
cool.
you.
And
I appreciate
that's not
that.
always the case, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think that it's good you're clearly a self-aware person, which I think
Thank you.
that's where the proud dad moments come from. It's
you.
just being aware because you know what you're trying to get. It sounds like you and your wife have a really good relationship to where you understand how to head your family and work with what you got, and you do stuff with your daughter, you do stuff with your son, and you figure out how to make your family work, and that's all anyone can ask for.
Right. And,
Absolutely.
and her and I, we're not always on the same page.
Of course.
Like everybody.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Communication can always be better between us.
For sure.
She'll say something and in my mind, I responded, but maybe I didn't.
Yeah.
And then she'll be like, you never respond. I'm like, I did.
Yeah, I think I remember. I don't remember what we were talking about, but I said something.
So we all,
I wasn't really paying attention, but I know I said something.
Thanks, Ian. I appreciate what you were
Yeah,
saying.
no,
But like I said, we're not. If anyone's listening, like trust me, like we're not perfect by any means, but we're trying to like figure things out as anybody else.
But you have your priorities straight with all that, though. Like you said, there's some people that don't take those steps, and you guys are all over it, man. And that's
And
like
again,
you said, your priority is making sure that your son has everything that he needs.
Right.
Like you said, you would give up anything to make sure that he gets what he needs, and that's something for you to be very proud of, you and your wife, because that's
like
amazing.
I remember when we first started paying out of pocket for like we were paying like we still are. It's like $80 a week just for one type of therapy, you know. And I'm like, I remember thinking in my head like, should I go load trucks at UPS at night just to pay for therapies?
Right.
Like, is that life balance so worth it? But obviously it's not because you don't want to like overstretch yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would
It's that
challenge
thought.
you to think about happiness, right? Like
Quality of,
I'm not a huge fan of the work-life balance notion.
yeah, I'm with you on that.
I think for anyone to tell you what your work-life balance should be can go fuck themselves.
Yeah,
'cause,
exactly.
like,
Yeah, exactly.
You're
It's
not
their own
living
thing.
my life.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know what
Tell
I mean?
me what you think.
But I think what everyone can strive for is happiness, and so whatever that means, and that's going to change all the time, right? And so, like, if you as a family or you as a person can understand what makes you happy and what makes your family happy, then you're fucking winning. You know what
Absolutely.
I mean? Like, And that's kind of a long-winded way of saying, like, don't be too hard on yourself. But you're going to, because you're a man and you're a dad, and like I get
Human
it.
nature.
Thank you.
But if you keep happiness in mind and say, hey, like I like the journaling idea, I'm going to try that.
I absolutely 100% think that's going to benefit.
Keeping
any of us.
happiness in mind of what you're going to do for this day, this week, this month, this year, you can't go wrong.
Sure. Cool.
Agreed.
I'm glad I shared that though, because I wasn't sure. at
That's
first if I-
that,
Yeah, no,
I think that's
absolutely. I love
absolutely
it.
huge, especially too, like the way that you said it too. Like you have that journal too, where it's like a 5-year thing, so you could you could look back then and be like, wow, that was something that bothered me. That was stupid. Like
Right,
you know
that's
what, and
trivial
you bettered
bullshit,
yourself
yeah.
just from that. Like that's amazing. I definitely wanted to get into that. That's
I agree.
so. Thank you for that.
Oh,
for
hey.
bringing that up. Like you said, you're like, wasn't sure if I should bring that up, but no, I'm glad you
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
That's good
absolutely.
for anybody to hear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was texting with Tom, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I listened to your episode. It was really cool." And I'm like, I'm nervous about being on, but I'm also like way more excited than nervous.
Oh, you're great. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
you're a
Don't
phenomenal
worry,
guest, man.
thank you.
We've been trying to
so
get
much.
Tommy back on too, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah, now he's got two.
when he just had his baby,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
brought over some food over there. For
Oh,
so we got
nice.
to
That's
chat with him
awesome.
for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, no, trust me, man. You're a great guest, man.
Thank you.
So,
I really
no,
appreciate
this
that.
is when it's easy like this and it just
That's
flows.
when we go for however
3
long.
hours.
That's a huge honor. I really appreciate
No,
that.
absolutely, man. We'd be happy to have you back anytime.
Oh my god,
Always.
I would love to come back.
Yeah.
Always.
Especially when you're bringing some amazing bourbon too, right?
I know. I want to do it
I
on a
also-
night when I'm not running
Don't-
24 miles
don't
the
touch
next
it either.
day.
I also like to smoke barbecue too, so maybe I'll.
Ooh, big fans. Big fans over here.
Yeah. I
Yes.
wanted, being from, I wish I had some like dried sausage I could have brought, but I haven't made any this year.
Oh my god.
So-
So I have this. There's a guy that I work with that brings it in all the like every winter. They do it and he brings them in. I eat that stuff like candy.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like he'll
That's
like
also
here,
my
take this home with
DNA.
you. Oh man, I'm sitting there slicing it with like a razor blade at my desk, and I'm like, I'll eat the whole thing in
Yeah.
like in an hour. I'm like, just the whole thing's gone. I'm like, you got any more? I mean, that's one of my favorite things ever. Like I grew up, one of my friends, Fatika, his family they always had dried sausage, man. That was like my favorite thing in the world. I always love that. So yeah, if you could bring that too with some bourbon, yeah.
Yeah, well, that'd be awesome.
Now I'm
Some
hungry.
red wine. Yeah. I know. I've been thinking about where I'm gonna maybe
Yeah,
stop
right?
to get some food too.
Yeah, there's a Sheets by my house.
My
now.
intermittent fasting might have to go on hold tonight.
Yeah.
Shit, we didn't even get into any of that kind of stuff. But
I'll save it for another.
yeah, we'll save it for next time. Pete, anything you want to plug like before we actually sign off, other than what you've already talked about?
No, just for the guys out there that are maybe going through the similar things that I did, just stay positive and focus on getting all the best resources you possibly can, and just take
That's
care
great advice.
take care of yourself, take care of your spouse, your partner, take care of your other children as well. But don't worry that if your child has a meltdown in Target, because there's 10 other kids that probably had meltdowns that they're I hate using the word typical.
Mm-hmm.
Because kids are kids,
Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
and just
right.
go with stride. And who cares if someone looks at you? And if someone makes a comment, know in your heart that they're an asshole, and their
Yep.
opinion doesn't fucking matter.
It
anyways.
does.
Exactly.
And you
That
just go
person
about
doesn't mean anything.
and you go about your business.
Absolutely.
And, I'm not saying I still don't. When I meet somebody, I still don't just open up with, "Oh, my child's got special needs."
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get better at doing that. I don't think that's a part that I need.
I don't know if that's
I don't
the
think
answer or
you need, yeah, I don't know
But
if that
I'm saying
is
if
something
that-
that you have to explain yourself, right? You know,
But if that, like I said, whenever someone talks about asks about my family, I say I have a boy and a girl. And one's 9.
Mm-hmm.
One's into Matchbox cars. The other one's into girly stuff.
Sure.
Whatever,
yeah, absolutely.
I don't open up with and then when they hear about like speech therapy and about they'll connect the dots, but
Right.
that's for them to connect. Not I don't
Sure.
really open up.
Again,
But again, maybe for someone new going through this kind of stuff, like struggling with it, maybe just find a good support. I still have trouble. Like I know I have friends like through social media that have children
Mhm.
that are going through the same things I am. We don't hang out, unfortunately. Like I don't make it a priority, fortunately, because I have my crew, group of, and I'm a homebody to begin with.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's my wife and kids and my jujitsu people, and like that's really. I know the COVID's mixed up everything, but like,
For sure.
obviously, so like. I don't know. Maybe I would feel better. Like I always think about maybe going to like a support group where
Yeah.
there are people that go through this. I haven't found one yet, but that I want to be a part of. But I don't know. So
yeah. Well, I think it's good to keep an open mind about that
For sure.
stuff. And I
Absolutely.
think what you said is get the support that you need, right?
Yeah.
Because that's going to be different for everyone else.
for everyone,
For
it's all
Absolutely.
tailor-made, yeah. But
Um,
I really
but yeah,
appreciate you guys
thanks.
having me on.
No, thanks for coming on,
And
man.
I was
It
very
a
It's a pleasure,
blast.
man. This
Oh,
is a good
thank you
time.
so much. Glad it worked out.
Absolutely. Steve, you got anything?
I'm good.
All right. Well, that was wonderful. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the YouTube.
Whatever you listen to your podcast on.
That's right.
Everything.
And then,
We're everywhere.
We are everywhere. Check out the website, www.thetalkingdads.com. And in the meantime, raise good humans.
Thank you.
Peace.
Hey, guys, if you love what you just heard or watched, and we know you did, do us a solid and hit that thumbs up. Share with your friends and throw us a comment, literally about anything. Your support legit keeps us going. Oh, and don't forget to give us that 5-star rating. We really appreciate you.